leading the discussion. And then we'll be starting with SMU rep. Is that correct?
Wait, Senator.
Yeah, we wanted to start with the senator, but then he is not around right now, so I have to contact him to see whether he can call us in. So that's why we're going to start with the SMU rep. So we have these two SMU reps. First of all, good evening to you all. Thank you for showing up. We're going to have 13 speakers, and we'll start with the services, VP services, and the two SMU reps. By the SMU rep, we have Karim Mayaki and Vivian Campbell. We have two positions on the reports. And then we have Karim Malaki for services. So, yes. Yes? We can have, we don't have to have all review all of it. So, I guess we're going to start with Rita. We have Vivian, I can see Vivian, I can see Karim, and the other Karim. No. I'm not sure calling you. Don't have Karim to get Karim. So, yeah, I think we'll start.
It's fine. It's fine. He had to go back. Yeah.
So it's pretty much going to be 1 minute. And if you have some questions. Are we there? Yeah.
Don't you think about regulations?
Oh, wow.
Yes. And MUS is going to keep shit right now. Like they have like a living load slash test. No buttons. Is it IR? Yeah. Is that allowed? Did you check with Ben? Did Trey check with Ben? Because voting is really important. So that's why like you need a proxy for Trey to vote no against. SMU is different than yeah, but that like that doesn't.
Yeah, okay. I'll make sure.
Double check with Trey, yeah.
I'll make sure.
What?
Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Karim Calabi. I'm a third year computer engineering student and I'm going to be with VP Services. So I'll just get straight to the point. My primary platform is simple. I want to continue to support our service managers so that we can together make impactful improvements to our services. I've been a user manager since fall 2015, and with the support of our other managers and the VP Services at the time, we're able to set up a sales app on our iPad to track sales and cash flow, acquire a new pop fridge with LED lighting and more space than our old fridge at only 10% of the original cost, as well as bring debit and credit payments to the G-Store and a cheaper, faster terminal for copiers. So over the past week, I've met with the G-Store managers, copiers managers, and prospect managers to hear what kind of improvements they have. The G-Store is looking to bring more food options as well as improving the couches. Copiers have several organizational and operational improvements, and prospect is to look for a new store-based supplier for the winter. So it's going to be an exciting opportunity. It's going to be an exciting upcoming year. Let's make things happen. So I guess it's time for the questions now. So I have yet to talk with the key managers. I'm planning on getting in contact with them soon as I hear what they have to say.
Do you have any plans of adding French signage to the general store?
Okay, so Aaron actually just came and talked to me about that today. Definitely have to look at the language laws. I'm pretty sure like it has to be like French or Totlender or something like that. So yeah, it's something we probably need to do.
space is a big part of the proposal. So what are your plans?
For the space? Well, one thing I mentioned is the nut couches that have gotten like pretty nasty. So I think that those need to be cleaned as well. And I was actually looking at the windowsill earlier today, and it seems like just kind of a waste of space. Like maybe it would be cool to get some sort of like chair set up like they do all the way to McConnell. And I was also thinking earlier today those like charging stations that you see at the library.
So people see services like they see the free services that are upstairs, but the common room is also upstairs as well. Do you have any plans for that?
So again, like I think the space manager, I have to get in touch with him as well. So I couldn't get in touch with everybody last week, but I definitely plan on talking with them as well to see what kind of thing I have. I haven't been in the common room a whole lot recently, so I think it would be the best to see what kind of things.
That was my question.
There's always been sort of the topic of paying volunteers in the EUS, and one name that's come up year after year is actually the space manager. It used to be different positions and things like that. What is your opinion on paying the space manager?
That's a tough one because at the services it's kind of clear what gets paid because you are like on shift and you're kind of running a business. As for the space manager, I have to see. That is a tough decision. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it yet. Let's see.
What is your position on paying people who are not explicitly working for the services?
Okay, well, I mean, like the whole spirit of the EUS is like we are putting our time into doing what we're doing. I think the employee for the services is kind of a small section on the side. So I think that's kind of part of why we do what we do. We do it because we want to improve our space, we want to help our students, not necessarily for compensation. Is anybody any question?
I think also, I guess the reason for potentially paying the space manager is in the past it's been tough to keep a space manager motivated. You're not working for a team as you are if you're working for a family that has income from the exact. So it's hard to like, keep a space manager motivated and it's hard to inspire someone. Like it's a tough position to hold.
Yeah,
so I guess how would you encourage someone in that position?
the thing with that is that like it has to be clear like what they're going to pay for, like how much they're working, because I don't think the space manager has like a schedule of the follow or something that they're supposed to do. So like once something like that is set up, you can figure out like how many hours they're supposed to be working and like what they should be doing.
I guess even if you're not paying them, how much is the motivated?
I mean, you can ask the same question about a lot of like different positions in the US. Like everybody, like all the execs today, they're not getting paid for what they're doing, but like just because the personality inside like all the space. So it's finding someone that wants to improve the space. If that becomes harder and like money related around it, and it's kind of clear how much they get paid and like, what they should be doing. If that's the easy thing, that's
What do you think about services that can use currently in the US? Do you think that will change?
what exactly do you mean by that?
So right now, services are seen as community, but what if they become commercial services? If they become a new corporation?
As for the new corporation thing, that might add like a whole lot of complications because then we have a separate corporation, which means we have to have two MOAs to fulfill. And I think just being part of the US that's already had like a decent amount of brand recognition and a decent amount of name recognition, which is following the entire whole would be helpful. So at this time, I don't think it's advantageous to split as a separate corporation. As for keeping them as committees, I don't know like how different it would be for them to be separate because it's still kind of like groups under the US that generate money. And of course, like the profits that come from the services are what's funded with the committees. So in that sense, it makes more sense for them to stay as separate. say as many.
There's been a lot of like HR in the US. So formalizing practices like grievances, and things like community. What is your position on that?
So you'll elaborate a little bit, like, so yeah. One of the things that was brought up with like the Congress managers as well, the dependency over more policies involved with customers. I know there are some bylaws that are set out that probably are a bit outdated of how grievances are dealt with, and how severances are dealt with, and how hiring is dealt with, and training. So that would be a great way to standardize, especially the training portion. I think that's not really like something that needs to be kind of used, right? It's very difficult. But the managers just show up to a couple shifts and that's how they're done. Okay, so that's pretty much just thank you so much for coming up. I hope I've shown you an passion for the improvements to the services, and I think it's really good to the services. Thank you.
Next we're going to talk here. Ms. Corinne here.
Hi, I'm Vivian Campbell. If you don't know me, I'm a fourth-year student in materials engineering, and I have spent this past school year sitting on the EUS Council as a U rep, and I absolutely love it. I love going to meetings. I love participating in bureaucracy, which I know is unlike a lot of people. So I'm super excited to do SMU rep because it's a lot more of that. Yeah, so I'm super active in debates on council. I have been on a lot of the committees and like ad hoc committees, and I am not afraid to speak up when I see something that I don't agree with, something that isn't right. And I think this is super important in running for SMU rep, because often engineering and SMU don't always, and like the rest of the people involved in SMU don't always agree on things. And so from discussing with current SMU reps, it's really important to be able to speak up, and I know we can do that. So I really want to make sure that engineering has a voice in SMU, that our needs and concerns are expressed and taken into consideration. So I want to be super active. I also want to run to be on the board of directors of SMU, and sit on lots of SMU committees, along with staying super involved in the EUS. My main goal, I think, there's a lot more potential for collaboration between SMU and the EUS that just doesn't happen right now because SMU doesn't care about engineers and engineers don't care about SMU. And I'd love to change that by staying super involved in both groups and personally connecting with as many of the people who run SMU events, services, and support systems and stuff, so that we can maybe change the way that some of those run to be more accessible to engineers. Yeah, and also trying to be really, really connected with the engineering community so that I can let you guys know what SMU does and what SMU offers you that you maybe should know about.
So any questions for Vivian?
How do you plan to communicate?
So EUS Council would be my main connection as a rep to the engineering community. And if EUS Council is functioning as it should, it's also the main way that the EUS connects with engineering students. So I would have detailed reports at every council meeting. I also would hope to do, like, if there's something big coming up, do a presentation on it, maybe submit a motion to debate it at council. I also want to hold weekly office hours at the office.
As a student who's been on the EUS and who also hasn't been on the EUS like council last year, I personally noticed that if you're on council and if you have friends who are on council, you hear about like quote unquote the SMU drama, but you don't really get to hear about like what you actually need to vote for, like, you know, important stuff that we actually need to hear about. So do you have any ideas of like kind of skipping that EUS channel and like maybe starting a new, I don't know, like platform where you can make announcements, or just like generally, I mean, office hours is a good idea, but like a general way of directly communicating to the student body?
I would, if you have ideas, let me know. I think office hours is one. Also, if there are key things that I can like summarize in a whole paragraph, I can put them in like a line, stuff like that. Honestly, it's kind of hard as like a single person or two people, because there are two of us, to reach the general engineering body. I think part of what I would also do is try and avoid just like only talking about student drama at EUS council meetings. Like when I'm giving my like report, I would make sure to outline like these are the important things. UREPs, like this is what you need to tell your ear. Like there's a referendum coming up or whatever, that kind of thing.
Have you ever had any affiliations with SSMU in the past, a club, or have you gone to their council meetings?
I have not gone to any council meetings yet. I'm going to one Thursday, either as a proxy or not. Other than that, not really. I've used some of their services. I've never been in a SSMU club. Yeah.
Situational question. So let's say SSMU council decides to amend their climate change policy and prevent oil, gas, and mining companies to do any representation on campus and recruit any students for their companies. How do you react?
So the first thing, if that's like something that's going to come up at SSMU, I would talk to the, I'd bring it up at council, EUS council, honestly, and discuss it to see what the general, like EUS general engineering population thinks about this issue. Probably it's going to be we don't support this, potentially not, but that's something where I have strong personal opinions that don't necessarily align with the engineering population, and I would make sure to figure out what the engineering population thinks, because I'm representing them. So I think, yeah, do my best to do that.
So SSMU has a lot of like funding opportunities and lots of things they sit on, and the EUS internally we have a lot of funding opportunities. Sometimes they like really overlap and there's miscommunication. Even though as a rep you don't necessarily sit on there, do you have ideas of how you could make sure that if courses need improvement in engineering, they're not doubling up? Because this is also even a faculty-wide problem.
Part of my sort of plan to address funding overlaps was to sit on the SSMU funding committee, and also to, like, as much as possible, connect with the people that would be allocating relevant funds, and like looking for overlaps myself as much as possible. Yeah, honestly, just getting a better idea of what funds SSMU offers, what funds EUS offers, and comparing them myself.
Any more questions?
All right, well, I hope that throughout the next year, if you vote, maybe you approve my position. I can make you care more about SSMU. Honestly, that's my number one goal.
So we're going to have one more person, then we'll have a pizza break. Or maybe two more people. So next we have Leila Howard, who's for Student Life, VP Student Life.
My name is Lila.
Speaking with Mike.
I'm a theory civil engineering student. Now my main involvements are scene chair, and I work at the Keystiller, and I'm running for VP Student Life. So I'm going to start off by taking a quick straw poll. Does anybody know what student life is? Okay, quick rundown. It's the VP clubs and admin, not academic, plus Steve, mental health, and grad comm. And another thing that's part of clubs and admin right now is recruitment, so that will be in there as well. So my platform revolves around three things: creating a framework for collaboration between design teams, clubs, and committees. And I'd like to do that through hosting design team, club, and committee socials so that they can all get to know each other. encouraging collaboration and hosting joint learning activities to discuss some of the shared challenges, things like how to increase member engagement and things like that. And collecting direct feedback from design teams on how we can make it easier for them to work with the EUS. My next platform item is helping clubs and committees become more established so that they can grow. I have quite a bit of experience with that because of C. So some of the things I'd like to institute are committee advisory boards, especially for mental health, as well as increasing an emphasis on internal organization. So things like really putting an emphasis on like quick email response times and knowing when to ask for help. As well as adding structures to committee and club internal organizations. And encouraging, like creating a framework so that junior council reps can sit on committees, and that will help increase awareness for first years. And the third platform item is mental health. I think it's really important to advocate to the faculty, so things like medical notes for exams, making that a more streamlined process, as well as trying to promote a more positive faculty culture, especially in like architecture. I've heard some pretty significant issues there. And I think like the student life and mental health committee can work together to help with that. As well as working to normalize self-care in the community, collaborating with EUS sports, because I think sports are a great way to make mental health better or happier, and promoting access to resources. All right, that's about it. Any questions?
So you mentioned as part of your portfolio and platform, you want to increase involvement, like numbers and like external involvement. Do you have any concrete plans or ideas to do that?
I think one way to do that is to work with first years. So encouraging, junior council to sit on committees, and also just like, we don't really have metrics right now on how many people show up to events, how many people are involved, except for maybe design teams for like the design team fund. I think that's a good place to start. So research is really the first, and then basically just like talking with other people and seeing what they've done and sharing ideas, because I think that helps.
Could you describe the difference between a club and a committee?
Sure. So a committee is like mandated by the EUS. So STEAM is a committee, GrantCom, mental health is a committee, and it has EUS bylaws. And a club is like a group of students who decide that they want to, for example, get together and start POW and things like that.
Another point just to add is the financing for committees come from the EUS, whereas clubs have to raise their own capital.
Also a big part of, well, once your life, the mandate will be adopted by referendum. The new kind of mandate also includes feedback and internal outreach. Let us know what EUS is doing. What are your plans on that front?
I think that's super awesome, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. Office hours is totally one way, and also just hosting, like, what if we had like coffee in the EUS office and invited people to come hang out, or in a different location even. I think the EUS office maybe isn't the best spot for that, for like common room or other locations, just to gather feedback and then like have it be open to everybody, and then we could invite people and talk and things like that. We could also do something more formal in like the mental health survey was super successful this year. So if we had specific items that we wanted to get feedback on, maybe we could approach it like that as well.
I'll preface what I'm about to say with the fact that Nick's been doing a really great job involving the design team in his work this year, because he's also been on a design team in the past. How are you planning on like continuing his work that he's done this year, which has been really excellent, as well as involving design teams as much as possible and supporting them financially and any other way you can? Because they're a huge part, regardless of having only one representative, they're a huge part of the US, what you plan on doing, and without me design teams.
Totally, I completely agree. I think design teams are like super awesome. For example, one thing that I learned this year was when STEAM hosted like a design team case competition, like I got to learn all about design teams, and I think collaborating between different groups is a really good way to do that. Also, I'm going to work really closely with Nick to learn more about exactly what he's doing. And I do have some friends who are on design teams, and just like talking to them, like I'm already talking, for example, like I have a really good friend who's the captain of the Concord community team, just talking to him about like what makes his life difficult as a design team captain, and like trying to incorporate that into, you know, bring that to the EUS, things like that.
So you mentioned mental health a fair amount, and like to be frank, the systems that McGill has in place are pretty atrocious. How do you plan to kind of overcome the lack of very like clear like system in place when approaching mental health in the engineering community?
Yeah, I think that's a really tough question. For one, there are a lot of resources that are available, and it's just hard to circulate that information. So I think getting that information out there is super important. But in terms of like the infrastructure that McGill has in place, I don't know a lot about it. So it'd just be like, if I can learn a lot more about it, then I can, you know, communicate that to the mental health committee, and maybe we could work with faculty. Yeah. Does that answer your question a little?
What do you think is wrong with how we get first years involved, and what would you change to improve that involvement for first years, excluding people who are on junior council and other committees?
I don't think there's anything wrong with how we get first years involved. I think that junior council is a great way to do that. However, you know, a lot of first years are in res, and like you don't really get more into the engineering community until after first year often. And I think like one opportunity would be to just talk to them a little bit more about involvement opportunities perhaps during Crunch. Yeah. Classroom announcements during like, their classes. Okay, well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Kindly take 1 piece each so that we ensure everybody has something there after that.
I was just not every morning I wake up and I'm like, no, not today. Life is pretty good.
Pizza break, yay. When are you going?
Yeah, buddy. Nice. It's good to sell in. Good job, Mitch.
Hi, buddy. I don't even know where
Yeah, he said he was gonna send me. It's like a big deal. Yeah. I don't know
Submitted a motion to change the entire regulation. So like 2 days before council, they submit a motion, and so Trey is like, what? So they take it to the I feel like really the fact that like it allows PDS to be voted on the proposals and like right? Because the way they changed the regulation and like so like EUS begins to place.
It's like, no matter how you look at it, even if you're for BDS, it's just such a shitty, slimy way of sneaking it through. I could not support it.
They're more than welcome to put it up again to achieve as their democratic right, and I completely agree with that. But they should not sneak it through by any means. It's totally bullshit.
Jailboard used to be overturned by and now it's like which is big.
Very nice attire.
It's literally the saltiest thing I've ever
I have like there's like a nightgown type thing, but there's definitely still nice, but then there's still cheap. Yeah.
Pretty fly. You sign your boots?
I'm so excited. And then, yeah, everyone is messing with me now about like, I have to lease transfer my apartment that I live in now. And I do like 20, 25 message requests. Yeah, well, everyone is seeing it. I have people seeing it Wednesday night, Friday night, and Saturday. I don't know how many views were like this. Yeah. So you do
So can we have everybody seated so that we can start the next session, please? Okay, so we're about to have the next speaker. Sad or C is running for communications, but he's not on station right now. So I'm still waiting to hear whether he's able to call in. In the meantime, we'll have Rafi Zonis, academic. Yeah, then we'll go to VP external.
We'll go back to
Yeah, we'll try to talk to Trey. We're trying to connect with him. And then we'll go to VP external.
So you just send a voice. What?
Answer all questions.
He says this is hilarious. I don't know.
Nice little sticks in the background, I like your shirt. Can we keep on talking? Okay. What?
Okay.
You can hear?
Well, I'll come up.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I need to be able to hear people, right? Is the live stream on? It's like right? Yeah.
Inception. Well, we got the voice.
All right, cool. I'm on the live stream right now.
Cool. A lot of try.
We're running against each other.
Hello.
Hello.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, I think the hat Trey speak first, then you coming up.
It's just still image right now.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
All right. Cool. So I'll go for it. All right. So I can go. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Hey everyone. I'm Trey Mansdorfer. I'm running for EUS Senator. Wait, it's actually delayed as hell. Wait a minute. All right, I'm gonna start over. It's really delayed on my part, but I'll try speaking right now. Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Trey Mansdorfer. I'm currently running for the Engineering Senator SSMU. I'm sorry I couldn't be there today. I had a friend who recently passed a couple of days ago, so I came home. I'm going to be here for the week with his family and my friends. So if you have any other questions, because I know it's kind of hard to give me questions, just writing them on the Facebook event page at any point during the next day or two. So to start off, I'm going to talk about my previous experience at McGill. First year, I was a hall council president. I sat on IRC and URC. IRC is an event planning group, and URC is the administration to residents connection. So it's kind of like SSMU, but a little less efficient somehow. So that's that. This year, I'm currently the EUS SSMU representative. I sit on it with Tristan Redden, and I sit on 2 SSMU committees. I'm on the service review and SPIN. So that's what I'm doing right now. I have the SSMU representative experience for SSMU Senator, and I feel like it's very valuable. Myself and Tristan were recently rated the highest on the accountability report out of the 4 major faculties. So I think we both excel in the SSMU environment. So that's the basic experience prior. Senator platform. So I know everyone's kind of heard of it. A fall reading week has been talked about for a while now. It began 2 years ago with Josh Thon. He was the original EUS senator who started to break the ice with it. And Alex Dallas worked well on it during the last year. The situation currently is that at the engineering faculty is the only faculty that can't do the fall reading week due to accreditation issues. We need 130 teaching days. So we can't just drop 2 days during the year to add in a reading week. So my main focus during the year is to make sure that this reading week does happen. The earliest that it could be is the 2019 academic year, because all the other academic dates have been set. So my goal as a SSMU senator is to make sure that fall reading week becomes a consistent break for the McGill students starting in the 2019 year, to help out with mental health, because reading week generally does decrease mental health services afterward. It helps out, especially for second main objective for focus on the base of rank and field committees and rank committees. Mental health services advisory board, stand service committee. That's really making sure that the is advocate included enough for, and the EUS has expressed interest in having adequate mental health services. This again want to be funding committee, which is under SSMU. Recently, funding committee had $200,000 in this, and a lot of engineering design teams applied for it, and they didn't really have a chance to get it. I think it's hard right now for engineers to understand what the funding committees want from SSMU, and I think I need to put myself on the committee to bridge the gap and try to tell engineers like, hey, this will help get you funding compared to this idea. Maybe you should pursue this to this. So I think those are my goals. Fall reading week is going to be my major priority, making sure I'm helping out mental health as a SMU senator, and then making sure I'm on funding committee to help people achieve that free money, because I know engineers always need more money. So that's a brief run through. Yeah, if you want to ask me any questions, go for it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. I guess any questions? All right.
What will the biggest challenges of the job be?
The biggest challenge, if I didn't have the SMU experience, would be understanding SMU and sort of working that. But since I had that, I don't think that'll be a challenge. I'm trying to think. I think the biggest challenge will be time management, actually. I know Dow's put himself on, I think, 5 to 7 committees, as well as giving office hours and being an active member of all these committees. I think my biggest challenge will try to be a part of as many committees as possible while still being as active a member as possible. I think it's something I can do well, but I think it's going to be a challenge to manage and juggle all these different projects that I want to accomplish as a SMU senator. So yeah, I think that'll probably be the biggest problem. And that's going to be the biggest problem for any SMU senator, in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah. So, which Senate committee would you like to sit on, and what kind of other projects that will be presented?
So, what Senate committee would I want to sit on? So, the Senate group committee would be the McGill Health Advisory Board, which is under McGill standing committees. I believe that answers your question, and I would push for better mental health. Or I would push to make sure mental health services are doing well and making sure that they're going in the right direction, because that's very important to engineers and McGill in general. I think McGill's put a large emphasis on mental health, and that's very right. So yeah, that's the big committee that I would push. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. I think that's what you asked. Cool.
Yes. Do you plan on still being an active member of all these councils that you sit on, or do you plan on bowing down to time management?
Is there another question?
Yes, hold on.
Okay.
Like he mentioned he wants to be an active member like Dow. Does he want to be on the same amount of committees to retain that time management, or is he decreasing his number of committees? Yeah.
Is there another one?
Yes.
Very sorry.
Well, anything you haven't mentioned that you want to hear more about?
Oh, that's a good question. I've always considered myself a banana sort of guy. Yeah, so that'll be the final answer. Yeah, no worries. Check 1, 2.
Give it a Chester. 1, 2.
1, 2. Is this what was it loud? Was this loud?
No, that's good. You're good.
Jesus.
I believe you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is. Did it get quieter? So this is just gonna power through. Hi, everyone. My name is Rafi Zonis. I'm a 4th-year mechanical engineer, and I'm good. I'm running to be your. Go acapella.
I think it's working.
It was working fine, buddy. I don't.
Is it really working fine? Okay, I'm running to be your VP Academics for the year of 2017-2018. Is it working now?
Yes, just have faith.
Okay.
Alright.
Just keep going.
Okay. As for my experience, for years 2 and 3 of my McGill experience, I volunteered at PTS first as the user math tutor and then as the PDEs tutor. And for years 3 and 4, I was the
Project.
Just give it up. It's okay.
You're right.
I was the. You just turn it off.
Microphone gate.
Electrical engineering students.
Is it off now? Okay. And for the past 2 years, I've been the main VP academic. That is for my experience. As for what I plan to do, there's a series of concrete things I plan to do. First, I mean, like, they're like miscellaneous. Like, I plan to, they're miscellaneous important. I plan to continue the formalization of the EUSF that's done by Katie. I plan to create a finally updated list of technical complementaries A, considering, I don't know if any of you have seen the list, it's kind of atrocious. And another thing that I plan to do is, I don't know, has anybody here had a bad TA? Does anybody know a friend that's an undergraduate that probably could have done better than that TA?
Yes.
Exactly. I plan to hopefully get undergraduates more involved in the education of other undergraduates in our faculty. So those are like a few concrete things that I've come up with, but like I think my overarching goal is accumulation of a series of experiences that I've had in the past 3 years being involved in academics. I've sat and discussed things with students. I've sat and discussed with professors. I've been in like hallways and I've been in boardrooms, well, not boardrooms, but I guess like conference rooms. And I've heard like both sides say what they think of the other side. And to be honest, in general, there seems to be a general jadedness towards each side. Like each side is jaded with the other side. Like for example, like let's say a few students in a class copy an assignment. This issue gets to the departmental level and they say, how do we stop students from copying assignments? Professors end up saying, well, there's no way to avoid it, so we're just not going to update the assignments at all. And what results is there's a class that isn't being continuously improved. Both sides are enemies, or there's animosity between the professors and the students and the professors. And ultimately, there's stagnation. There's no progress. There's no improvement. It's a standstill. So I guess what I plan to do is have McGill finally earn the rank of what 45th, 44th in the world. I can't stand listening to administrators and bureaucrats and professors continually say this over and over and over again. But I'm here, and all of you are here, and I don't think that we're doing the best we can, both on the professor side and the student side. I think all of us can push to be better. All of us can push such that our faculty is a space for continuous improvement and continuous criticism and continuously asking ourselves, can we do better? So essentially, it would be accountability on both sides, and that's all I've got to say. And I open the floor to questions. I'm sure there's a shit ton of. Grace.
So I know this isn't something that one person can solve. I'm like very aware of that. But I've had some of the worst professors this last semester. For example, I had a professor who came down with sickness and illness and only made it to 6 classes the whole semester. And I felt like no one really did, like, I don't know, it just nothing really changed. And he's still teaching classes this semester. So I'm just wondering, as VP Academic, what tangible thing can you do to help not let bad professors continue to teach classes?
Well, first off, like the one expectation you have to understand is, like professors, one of their jobs is teaching. That's probably a third of their portfolio. The other 2/3 are, one is research, and the other one is standing on academic boards, such as like a departmental academic committee, so on and so forth. And the reality is that I can only push professors' hands that don't have tenure yet. Once they have tenure, they're clear and through. And there's not much I can do about it. But what I can do is I can go to the chair of the department and lobby him as much as I can. And I've talked to Katie about what needs to be done, and it's very difficult. You go to the chair, The chair doesn't do anything, you go to the dean doesn't do anything, you go to the deputy provost. It's a very difficult situation. But what I can do is, what I've been trying to do in Maine is if there's a bad professor, there's nothing we do about it. The only thing that you can do is alleviate it with good TAs. And that's where we have control. So my plan would be to make sure that there's some sort of undergraduate instructor for the class, somebody that's done the class and understands it, that could supplement the shittiness of the professor. And hopefully, that's another issue I want to tackle. I guess it's difficult, but like making sure that there are good TAs in classes. There are too many good grad students here for there to be shitty TAs.
What are your thoughts about resources that are more off the record, midterms, past homework assignments that aren't publicly available, but are passed down like generation to generation? I find that some students have these resources because they learn more communally, while some people don't because they just don't talk to the right people to get these resources. What do you think about those off the record supplements?
I personally do not approve of them because they give certain students advantages over other students. My plan would be to ultimately formalize and convince professors that this is happening anyway. The best thing that we can do is formalize and make sure that all students have the exact same access. Beyond that, I would talk to professors about it being, no, that would probably be my best answer. Formalization by talking to professors, convincing them that this is a problem. There's no way that you can stop it, you can just kind of control it.
Would you support and back a student-led initiative pushing for better representation of women and people of color in the faculty?
Better representation. Well, actually, I was just in a meeting today where, well, this is not a statement, yes or no, but just a fun fact. This coming undergraduate class in engineering is going to be 30% female, which is twice or nearly twice the national average. So, would I support such a committee? I believe so, yes.
Do you have any ideas of how you would do that?
How I would support a committee?
Support an initiative.
Oh, support an initiative.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a person of color and I'm not a woman. I don't know the struggles that they face. The first thing I would have to do is really sit down with a series of representatives of all groups and understand what the problem is. Before I do that, I really can't say one way or the other what I would do. The first thing, like in every problem, is you really have to identify it and understand what it is and how it can be solved. And until I do that, I can't say anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So could you elaborate on your TA idea? Because the
undergraduate?
Yeah, undergraduate TA. Because yes, Department of Math is allowed to do it under their own agreement, but the Faculty of Engineering is under a different agreement with the union, undergraduate TA. So how are you gonna implement the idea that you have?
There's a way to somewhat circumvent it, potentially through means like, I don't want to say EUS, that's not the mandate, but there are, you ever heard of team awards? It's a special fund provided by McGill that supports undergraduate TAs at any level, and it kind of circumvents the union agreement. I'm in a class right now that has 3 undergraduate TAs. Whether or not that could completely solve the problem is to be investigated. It's something I wanted to do in MEC this year, but I ultimately jumped on the bandwagon too late. But this year I'm going to be investigating, at least for mechanical, whether or not this is something, a feasible solution for the future. But I'm not entirely sure. Otherwise, I don't know.
One more question, and then we have the concluding statement.
I don't want to, Katie, be gentle.
So what is your opinion on surpluses to academic funds and how they should be managed?
Well, I want to start by saying I think it's better to have a surplus than to have a paucity. I'd much rather there be a continuous surplus of money than for there to be good academic initiatives that can't be funded. Moreover, necessary academic initiatives that can't be funded. As for how, if you ask me how I feel I would deal with it,
Yeah. I mean, do you just think you should just carry over the surplus every year, or do you think there should be active management to a surplus in the sense of mitigating? Or do you just see surpluses as purely a good thing?
I would say that it's definitely not a good thing. I mean, like surpluses over time, it's just sitting money that's going to sit there. I mean, I've been on EUSF for 8 years. Well, not EFC, but more EUSF. There's continuous surpluses that pile up over and over and over again. I think there would need to be the thing the problem with taking away a surplus is like this is students' money and this is students for MEC money. So it's hard to envision how I can take students, like the money from students for MEC and basically like reappropriate it to something else. I would need to have some sort of discussion with all VP academics, and it'd probably be all VP academics and presidents saying, what do you feel should be done as well? What do you feel comfortable with us doing with your money down the road? If it's like if it's money that's been here for 4 years, do you feel comfortable with us moving it to something that's more useful than just sitting in a fund? But it needs to be a joint decision. I don't have the executive authority to say.
But in general, you think that surplus, my question in general, do you think surpluses should be managed actively?
Yes, I think that it should be actively managed.
And mitigated, or?
And mitigated? And mitigated to the extent that the possibility of a paucity is not possible.
Thanks.
Do you have a concluding statement?
Do I have a concluding statement? Okay. I recognize quite a few people in here. And for those of you I don't know, I just want you to know, like, I take this position in academics and the quality of our education very, very seriously. I do not joke around. And very intense. I will put in the hours, and I will make sure that I'll do the best that I can, or I'll do the best I can for you or die trying. That's all I have to say.
So next we have a VP external. If we could be silent when people are speaking, please. So VP external, we have Mira Tofali and Sarah Mack. Yes. Let me also add that after speaking, I'm going to ask 2 questions that were asked from the online Google Doc.
Bear with me 1 moment. I just want to see if it's still going to do that waiver.
Yeah. West Philadelphia born and raised.
Never mind.
Figure out later.
Does somebody want to turn off the volume at the back?
Okay. Do you guys want to start the same? You want to start? So, okay. Kindly maintain some silence. We're about to start. I would say, is that Sarah? Sure. All right.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Please, excuse me, attention, guys. Okay, so we're going to have Sarah go first. Or is it Sarah? I won. You won? Yes. Okay. Mira is going to go first. I repeat again, I'm going to ask at least, I think, 2 or 3 questions that were online from students who couldn't make it or those who don't want to ask publicly. So you can go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mira Tufayli, and I'm a U4 mechanical engineering student, double minoring in software engineering and biomedical engineering. And I'm running to be the next VP external. Once I hit my 20s, I decided that I don't care about the money, I care about building skills. And one of the very few skills that I wanted to build was communication and leadership. And I started with being a president of my first I did 1 year dental school, by the way, as a president for the first year dental students. Then I moved into mechanical engineering, that's when I started. And I was the VP external communication, that's what it's called, for TULAB. TULAB is the Federation for the Lebanese Associations in Montreal in Quebec. So under TULAB, we have 5 associations. And I was like, big part of my portfolio was CAFEL, which deals with financial aid. The financial aid was around 30Ks. I had to get the funding. I had to protect the confidentiality of the people because that's their bank statements, their transcripts, their names. And I had to pick the best committee of highly Lebanese people in the community in order to assess those applications. Afterwards, I went into sponsorship for the Rocket team, and I was the business director for UAB. So I was dealing a lot with money, and one of the hardest things about cold calls is making someone actually give you the money for free. And once I accomplished that, I was like, okay, I'm done with this skill. I'm gonna move next. During the summer, I was at Harvard, and the top high school students in the world, they go there during the summer. And I had so many girls come up to me and ask me, you're a mechanical engineer. How's engineering? What's the difference between mechanical and chemical? And then I stood there and I gave them the advice, and I was like, whoa, those questions are very silly for me, but they don't know. And when I was in their position, I wasn't in the same boat. So then I realized how much important it is to actually give back. And this is why I'm here now. I've been here for 5 years. I've taken classes in different departments because of my minors. And I think I can give back a lot. Part of the portfolio that I'm going to work on, the previous VP externals have been working on mental health, and the motion has been approved in the Canadian Federation for engineering students. And I want to help the VP student life in order to advance this, because ideas are great, but executing them, that's hard. I want to work on making the other students that don't go to congresses and competitions to actually learn from the people who went. And I want to work on the professional development that the previous VP external have been working on. She wanted to make this database between the students who did internships and the students who want to do internships in those companies in order to match them up together. So thank you.
Okay, no more questions? Okay. Hey guys, to those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah. I'm in my 4th year of chemical engineering, and just a quick background on some of the things that I've been really involved with for the EUS for the past 3 years. I've been the POW VP Finance for the past 2 years, working on the sponsorship as well as financial portfolios. I've been VP External for McGill Society of Petroleum Engineers for the past 2 years as well, working on obtaining sponsorship and maintaining external relations with companies as well within and outside of the US. I was VP Sponsorship for DECA last year, working on sponsorship for a club outside of EUS. And this year I've also been EUS Clubs Rep sitting on council. So some of you might remember seeing me chilling in those 3-hour meetings that we all love so much. So that's kind of like a lot of things that I've been talking about. But basically what I want you to take away from that experience that I've got is that I'm super organized, I'm super professional, and I'm super dedicated to improving things for the EUS. And talking about my platform specifically, 2 of the things that I plan to do next year is typically the VP External has 1 director of external relations, and next year I plan to have 2. So 1 on external relations, who will help me focusing on Quebec and keeping and maintaining positive relationships with the other engineering faculties and universities in Quebec as well as the rest of Canada. And the 2nd director I plan to have is for professional development. A big thing that Jess was talking about working on is improving kind of the professional setting for students at McGill. And one of the things that I actually plan to improve on is having more wine and cheeses. I've talked to a couple of different execs as well as students of the EUS, and they've talked about some kind of positive feedback is that they want to have more things like at McGill that connects them to industries, because they find that it's really kind of challenging to kind of immerse yourself in that right away. So Pencho actually suggested that doing more wine and cheeses in different industries by partnering with different EUS groups would actually be really beneficial for students. For example, partnering with Nobi and doing a consulting wine and cheese to give people an idea of marketing or financial stuff. Partnering, to say with Excess to work on, say, the tech industry. How do you get more involved with code jams, software, like taking some basic coding classes? I see you, Mana. So things like that. So those are the 2 things that I'll be focusing on next year. So I'll be really looking for those 2 directors. Additionally, there are a lot of really important committees that are under the VP External portfolio. So I'm definitely really looking forward to working with Eng Games, Mech and Mech Lite, as well as the Congress team for next year. My focus for the committees is that they always want to maintain their autonomy, because I know that those leaders are very, very focused and very excellent students, having talked with some of them already. So my big focus on that is to be a really big team player and just to ensure that they always have the support and any suggestions and ideas and the backing from the EUS to ensure that they're able to put on amazing committees and always provide the best opportunities for all of you guys. So thanks.
So the first question is in 2 parts. I think I'll get answer from both of you and then go to the next one. The role of VP External involves representing students to the Quebec Organization for Engineering Students. Seeing that the 4 official meetings during the year, as well as communication with Quebec schools, is done entirely in French, 1.
what is your level of proficiency in French? Miral, you go first.
Maintenant, je vais prendre une cure de français parce que l'année prochaine, je vais, I'm applying to my PR and I have to have advanced level in French. So I'm taking classes right now. For the external director, I think I'm going to put him on track so he can help me out with writing up the reports. But for conversation, I'm definitely going to be up to it.
Okay. Was the conversation okay? Was the French okay? People who speak French? Okay, Sarah.
Je parle en français un petit peu. As some of you have probably know, I'm primarily an Anglophone, but I also plan on taking some studies in French this summer, specifically to improve my French as well. Currently, I would say that I'm highly proficient in reading and writing en français. As some of you have made a notice, I made my platform in English and in French, just to show that I'm very dedicated to ensuring that communication between all of the universities through the rest of Canada, whether it's in English or French, I'll be maintaining that properly.
So you feel like there's some barrier? There's going to be some communication barrier, or you're good to communicate in French when you have these meetings?
Yeah, I mean,
I have to learn. I'm applying in 9 months for my PR. I have to have advanced level, so I need the PR. What can I do?
Okay. You have to be okay to communicate.
I've taken 6 years of French at a secondary language level. So like I said, I'm very proficient with reading and writing. In terms of speaking, it's more of a pratiquer thing. So I intend to practice a lot and really improve my French over this summer. So yeah.
All right. Yes. Questions to the yeah.
Why do you think French is so important in Quebec, and what is the role of French within the field?
I'll answer that one first, I guess. I think in terms of, it's really just a culture thing. And I think it's always important, especially as a university as diverse as we are, to always respect people coming from many different cultures. So a lot of the time working with the other universities, University of Montreal, UQAM, etc., and things like that, they're primarily in French. So I think it's really important to develop a good relationship, to respect their culture and respect that French is their primary language, which I think is really important. At the same time, also being proficient in both languages is a very vital skill in terms of being able to communicate with universities across the rest of Canada. For example, one of the things that I will obviously be ensuring next year for Congress is that everything is offered bilingually, the same as it was for CDE, to ensure that all students who attend conferences or anything that's associated with McGill feel comfortable and feel supported with whatever culture they're with.
Okay, Mira?
The spoken language here in Quebec and for most universities is in English and is in French, sorry. And in order to communicate with other engineers in those departments and to feel closer and to exchange the knowledge, you have to know French definitely. McGill is bilingual, as we know, and we can submit our assignments and our exams in French. So we have to know it in order to represent you guys.
Okay, another question from the doc is, what is your experience? I think Mira will go first this time. What is your experience with the large-scale event planning, seeing that Congress 2019 falls under the external portfolio?
We're going to have a committee for that, and I'm going to look it up. I'm going to be looking up the committee. And my experience is, you want to know how many people I've managed?
Yeah, what is your experience with the large scale? You can give us an example.
Large scale is around 6 and 7. That's the largest. It was in CAFEL.
You said 6 people?
Yeah, 6 or 7 we were. 6 and 7.
For perspective, how many students attended that?
Sorry?
How many students attended?
It wasn't, it was more fundraising what we did, and it was around 200, 300 people attended. Okay. But it was businessmen, professors, in order to give us funding for our financial aid.
Okay, and what were you doing?
I overlooked everything.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Sarah?
As I kind of mentioned, I've been a part of lots of different clubs. As you might have heard, POW will be having their annual conference this week. We'll be having 150 students coming in to do that. As VP Finance, I certainly oversee the budget as well as maintaining of that. The POW budget regularly during a year is about $15,000. So I have a lot of experience dealing with things like that. Additionally, with my experience working for VP sponsorship of DECA that I did last year, we put together several consulting activities as well as case competitions. So I'm very comfortable in terms of putting the nose to the grindstone and getting everything set up for conference as well as working those days up to it. So when it comes to something as large scale as Congress, I feel confident that I will have a good team to work with and that I can definitely contribute to it, as well as I know what the time constraints will be, as well as the requirements, and I look forward to it.
Okay. Yes. I just want to hear, why are you specifically running for VP External, and what are you most passionate about in the portfolio? Because, like, is there any specific reason? Or what are the differences?
Okay, I guess I'll go first on that. When I was looking at getting more involved with EUS, one of my big things about wanting to be on the EUS committee is that I found that EUS has been like a really comforting community for me, so I really want to do a job of giving back. In terms of VP External specifically, I've always even when I first got here, getting involved with industry was always a bit of a challenge that I felt like as a student, I wish I'd had more support right from the get-go. So I feel like then getting involved with clubs like VP Finance, VP External, VP Sponsorship, it was something that I was very comfortable with, talking in a professional setting with industry leaders and being like, hey, these students are super cool, come check them out, you'll definitely have a great time. And exposing people to more different experiences and things like that. So that was my primary focus for VP External. As I kind of mentioned in my platform, one of the big things that I want to do while working with my director of development next year is creating more events on campus that connect students with professionals. So for example, the wine and cheeses I was talking about, I also plan to work more with departments as well to improve industry tours and stuff like that. So maybe if a department has an interest in going to an industry tour, but not necessarily the structure or the setup, I definitely want to help improve things like that.
What interested me in VP External is I have so many interests, as you can see from my minors. Like last week, I was in the conference for National Women in Business. The week before, I was for a startup conference. I believe in conferences, you get to meet a lot of people and get to experiences that you can't learn. And even when you share your knowledge, you're learning back. So what I want to do is I want to go to those conferences, learn from other people, and get this knowledge back. That's why I want to create events where whatever I'm learning and I'm experiencing, I want to also show it to other people.
Great. So I'll bring back to representation because that is actually the core of the external. You're supposed to be going to CAG meetings, so 4 times a week in the Quebec region, and then twice a year to the Canadian level. So 6 meetings where you're speaking in the name of
It's also for the competitions as well.
Okay, thank you. So those 6 meetings, you do represent students, and so it's a 2-part question at this point. First, how do you ensure that the opinion you express are the students and not your own? And the second, how are you going to go out in the community and find the necessary, get enough feedback so you know what the opinion of the going students are?
Getting the students' opinions, just being involved and knowing more people on campus, talking to a lot of people. That's the start. And I'm taking classes in different departments, so I'm exposed to people from different departments to understand their needs. I take software engineering from electrical, computer, mechanical, biomedical. So I think that's exposed to me. And also asking more people around. The second part of your question is how to give this knowledge.
How do you make the difference between your own opinion and the opinion of the legal engineering students?
Of course, you're representing the students. You have to put your opinions aside, regardless.
I think my biggest focus, one of the things that I've been doing in terms of campaigning for this, I've done a couple class announcements, as well as asking around people around the EUS office, those who have a lot of ties with the rest of the EUS. What are your opinions on this? What do you think the VP External portfolio should be doing more of? So I think honestly, talking face to face to a lot of people is one of the things that's the best way to get involved with students and make it seem the executives are a little less scary and a little less intimidating. So definitely with, if there are ever any contentious topics or definitely things that students need to be aware of, council is a great way to broadcast that. I really actually like council, even though it is 3 hours long, just because it's a great way to get involved and really share what's going on with the rest of students. Also having 2 directors next year, I plan to have them both very involved, obviously external relations helping me with CRIC and the meetings like that. Also in terms of staying connected with students, I think is something that's really important. Same thing with professional development. I really want the VP External portfolio to not just be external to EUS. I really want it to be more involved with students next year. So I think talking one-on-one as well as using the resources that I will have to the best of my ability will be the way that I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned that you have a double minor. I don't know what your classes are like, but
for both of you, how do you expect to balance the workload in the meetings with external with your course load?
Oh, I'm done. I still have 24 credits and I'm done with my degree.
So
I have 12 and I'm done. Like I don't have much classes left for next year.
Okay.
I still have 1 year, 24 credits.
Okay.
That's why I'm running.
Okay. I'm currently managing two different club responsibilities as well as being club's representative. So I certainly know how time management can be a struggle, and I know that I'll have to work around it. In addition, I'm only taking 4 courses each semester next year. So I certainly intend to dedicate a good chunk of my time to VP External, and I know I'll be able to manage it.
Yeah, any other questions about that? So you guys both mentioned a lot about dealing with industry, and also that's like primarily under the purview of class, and also like departments who want to liaise specifically with their own industries. Like Texas in particular has certain companies they would like to speak with, and you guys both mentioned something about sort of potentially overstepping the bounds of your mandate into mandates of like departmental external. Like how do you plan on making sure you're not micromanaging departmental externals and actually sticking to a broader scale of I guess impact?
I guess in terms of answering that, I guess I kind of misspoke when I was talking about the industry tours specifically. So I know right now that most of the industry tours are managed by each department, and I totally intend to like leave it that way. I think it's perfect the way it is. But if there's ever like, I want to make it like apparent to departments that if they want more support from the EUS, that I'm more than happy to provide that to them. Also working with my director, I'll be intending to make sure that like each department, like, do you have the resources necessary to get the industry tours you want, to speak to the professionals that you want? That way, like, no department is being left out or those with specific interests. Additionally, with like the wine and cheese idea that I had, that was more like a partnership opportunity. So for example, if XS wanted to partner with us, we'd definitely love to host, like co-host. It would certainly not just be the EUS overstepping their bounds. Like co-host like a wine and cheese to bring in like tech professionals to speak to any students interested in the tech industry for sure. With VP External, I know that like a lot of it is working with a lot of autonomous committees and as you mentioned, autonomous like VP Externals. So my biggest thing for me is going to be a team player to work together with everyone to like achieve everything that everyone wants to get, and definitely not looking to overstep any bounds.
What I mentioned is I want to continue what the previous VP External has been doing, and she's trying to develop a professional development where you have a database of certain students who did an internship with a company, and there's someone who wants to do an internship with this company, and it's more like a mentorship program. That's what I want to continue doing.
Wait, you mean which VP External?
Sorry?
Which VP External are you referring to?
Jessica.
A departmental one or the
No,
EUS
Jessica,
thing?
EUS.
Any other questions? Yes, Rafi, I think I'm the last one. Okay, yeah, and you.
Well, actually,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Situation question. One thing that even like as someone that's involved in the US, like, I find that not a lot of people like understand, appreciate what the external does. So situational question, like a first year student walks up to you and asks you like what do you do and like why does it matter to me? How would you answer that question?
I think Muriel goes first here. Yeah.
The conferences that the VP External goes to or delegates people to, there is the Conference for Diversity, which part of it was about women. You have the conferences, national and the one for Quebec. They're all dealing with how engineering profession is, ethics. It's about when you're talking to people from different regions and different schools, it's different perspectives into the things, and this is how we can grow and learn from each other. And for the competition part, for the mechanical engineering competition and all of that under that block, it's for them to develop their skills, to learn. There's leadership workshops, learning, even debate consultants. It's all about them to develop more as an engineering professionals.
How does that like make its way into McGill? Like, how does the knowledge kind of trickle into?
Exactly, this is what I want to do because I saw this missing, and this is why I'm standing here in front of you. Because people are going to those competitions and we don't even know about it. no one is learning. I have my friends U4, I'm talking to them about it. I'm like, do you know what I'm seeing? They're like, no, what is that? So I think there's a miscommunication over there.
Yes, sir.
Do you want the simple answer or the long one? Long answer? Okay, so let's say we're talking about super eager first year who wants to know everything that they can about the VP External. All right. So what I would tell them is, as the VP External for EUS, I represent McGill Engineering with the Canadian Federation of the Canadian Federal Engineering Society, and my job is to represent you and keep us connected with the rest of the engineering universities around Canada, as well as like more closely within Quebec. So some of the meetings that I do will be looking at specific legislation that affects engineering and making sure that you guys are informed and kept on top of this. Best way you can get involved, check out EUS Council, check out the pipeline, stay informed for things like that. If you ever have any specific questions, you can come talk to me. More generally, the EUS VP External is involved with improving professional development, as well as has several committees under portfolio. Those committees next year will be including MEC, MEC Lite, Eng Games, as well as working with Congress. So my job with them is to ensure that they're able to put on the best show that they could possibly want to while working with those teams and allowing them to maintain their autonomy, of course. Additionally, on the side of professional development is to bring in industry professionals to provide you with the best connection, external connection to industry that you can possibly have available by working with departments as well as other groups under the US. For example, I plan to implement wine and cheese. It's going to be my buzzword for this year, guys. To implement that, to bring you a better connection to the external. So if I were to summarize that, the US VP External's job is to keep you as a small engineer at McGill connected with the larger community of engineers so that you have the best opportunities available to you.
Can I just add something? To tell students to go and apply for those things. So for Eng Games, we sent 40 students. So we still have the gap because that's not enough. How are you going to share with the other students? That's the problem I want to try to fix. Because be alerted and apply is just 40 students who are going to go and they're going to learn. What about the rest? Okay.
It has a cap of people who go to engineering.
Yeah, exactly. 40. I said it. We're sending 40 students.
Do you have any other questions? I think I had 2 people, so we'll have that and that. And then you're the last question. Try to be brief, please.
Sorry. Cool. So you both talked at least a bit about maintaining the autonomy of committees that are in your portfolio. So how would you help one that is struggling? What kind of a role do you see yourself taking if that is the case? This extends to Eng Games, Scale Engineering Competition, and CFS.
Whatever problems there is, we're engineers, and this is what we're trained to do, is to find what's wrong and find the solution for it. So,
okay. So then
let's ask, elaborate more on it.
What role do you personally see yourself taking with respect to the members of that team then?
I would sit with them, see what's wrong, ask them. It's about communication.
Having worked on several teams with like clubs as well as like seeing how council works and things like that, sometimes it can be something as simple as one of the members isn't pulling their weight, or it can be something like more complicated, like there's not enough sponsors. So I think my biggest role is going to be working as a team member. So in cases of where they're struggling, like try to offer more suggestions that I've used in the past that have worked to help certain committees. For example, reaching out to personal contacts at companies to try and reach out for funding or sponsorship or speakers. If there is more of like a personal problem within the team, I have a lot of like experience like working with like conflict resolution like within a team and things like that. Obviously, like the focus would be to like maintain the success of the committee. So in terms of things like that, I never intend to overstep the bounds of the chairs of the committee, but in terms of offering them suggestions, like if it does seem like they're struggling, I definitely intend to provide that support and just be like, I'm here for you. Like if you ever want to talk, like let's have a conversation. Let's try and work things out, work out new ideas. I've got lots of suggestions and lots of background and experience that I can share with them. And I would always leave it up to the chairs, I think, to make the ultimate decision for how to lead the committee, because it is theirs.
Okay, so question there, and then we'll have the rest of that. Yes.
Okay, so to go back to the type of language, so McGill's always been passive, historically a strong voice of the Canadians. I'm the director of External Recruiting now. I'm speaking French since I'm from Chicago, like, and it is intimidating. And how do you feel about going into a discussion where very well-versed francophones, despite the fact that you don't really speak English, French. Okay, let me put this question.
We
How
got
will you
it.
approach
We got it.
being I'd rather they completely understand very strong within the with their voice. And with the language there, do you feel like you can still be the strong voice in McGill at this age, despite everybody else being playing phone and well?
What you're telling me, it sounds like the first thing you need to do is get an excellent director of external relations. So that keeping in mind, in all seriousness, I've never been intimidated by working with a professional. I have tons of like professional experience within the industry, as well as dealing with like job hunting, funding hunting, sponsorship. And I know that sometimes like the little nitty gritty, and you will get professionals who will try to intimidate you. I have no intention of letting that happen to McGill Engineering. We are a strong force. I intend to keep that way. Like I said, if anything comes down to my lack of like French knowledge, I obviously would do my utmost to improve on that and make it so that it would never be a detriment to EUS.
My first language is not English. I was born and raised in Lebanon, and I moved here when I was 19. And I'm standing here in front of you talking in English. I think I can pull up the French.
All right, the last question.
Yeah. So how are you going to make the students united and connected with external affairs? And like what are your plans to work with the Department of Education?
Mira, you go first on this one. Could you maybe rephrase the question or say it again?
What are your plans to work with the Department of EHL to make the students united from each part of external?
It's through the events that we're going to be making.
Any ideas on the events that you will be creating?
I'm still working my way around it because I need to formulate like a plan in order to see how I can transform the knowledge learned in the conferences and the competitions and make people interested to come into those events. So I'm still planning this.
One of the biggest things that I've learned coming to McGill is that diversity is a huge thing here, and that lots of different people, no matter like how many people you try to group together, everybody's going to have different interests and things like that. So as I mentioned earlier, I intend to work a lot with like the different departments to be like, what do you want to do? Like talk to Chem, it's like, where do you want to go? Like, what do you think is going to be the best interest for the chemical engineers? What is going to be the best interest for mining materials, things like that. So working to unify students, but also at the same time by providing opportunities that work towards each of their interests. Because I know that not every single engineering student is definitely want to go to Pfizer. Like that wouldn't obviously make sense for like every single student. So I think that the best way to keep us united under EUS is to provide opportunities that appeal to every different interest type. So like I said, with like the wine and cheeses, best thing that I want to do is to partner with different groups in very different like industry directions. So for example, like I said, NOBI, let's look at consulting. XS, let's look into tech. Maybe it's in chem, let's look at like processing. Like I think the best way that we stay united is to recognize our diversity and always offer the best opportunities to appeal to all of those diversities.
Okay, so you each have 30 seconds to make your concluding statements. I think you started, so you'll start your concluding statement.
Okay.
30 seconds, yeah.
So you've heard us talk a lot, probably more than you necessarily wanted tonight. But just kind of going over why I really want to be your VP External. I've been really dedicated to the EUS the past 3 years with my different club activities. I think that I have very strong traits for the VP External portfolio. I'm very organized, very professional, and I think I've got some great ideas on the table for how to improve our professional development next year. With such as like wine and cheeses industry tours. And of course, I always want to be working as a team member with all of you to make the best experience that we possibly can out of our engineering degree. And I think if you elect me as VP External, I can do a really good job with that.
Thank you. Mira.
I'm highly motivated, dedicated, and disciplined. I'm someone who wakes up at 4:30 every day in the morning without hitting the snooze button. And I go to the gym, so my day isn't set back in any way. So this shows that I'm really disciplined. I want us to all grow together because this is the only way for us to be better. Vote for me.
Thank you.
Is there like a token?
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah, sorry if I was turning out.
Next we have VP VP internal. This has got the most contestants. So we'll have Jason, Mara, and Tristan.
Oh my God.
Those who are still behind, sit down. Okay. So, are you guys ready? Yes? Please, let's all maintain some silence. We are going to start with Jason, then we'll have Amara, and finally Tristan. So, Jason, you have your 2 minutes.
Y'all stand so people see me. Hi, my name is Jason. I'm a 4th year mech student, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit why I want to be the VP internal, what I want to bring to VP internal, and the real question I think a lot of you are asking is he really running? So I'm going to try and answer that today, and hopefully you'll be able to do the answer. It's yes. So pretty much what I'm going to talk to you. So what I want to bring to the VP internal, something that's really big is that you guys need to plan out events, right? So what do I have that will allow me to do this? I've never actually personally coordinated Frost. I don't think either of them have either. That's a mistake. I don't know. I don't think any of us have. So that's actually a big concern that I think a lot of you are having. So I'm going to address that right now. Pretty much what I'm planning on doing is that I know a lot of coordinators. I know a lot of past internals. I know a lot of people. I plan on pooling all these resources, learning all the information as possible beforehand so that I can actually apply it. Another thing, thank you, Rafi, for your nod. Another thing that I want to do is make sure that I have a very solid team. So you want to bring in a lot of experienced people. However, you also want to bring in new people. I have actually coordinated E-Week before, many years ago, before some of you were even here. Yeah. Oops. But so I do have some coordinating experience. I do have some knowledge as to how this should operate. A big thing that I mentioned on my event page, if any of you have read it, is that I really want to focus on mental health. The big thing for VP Internal is that you're trying to provide programs for the student body. You want to make their student experience better, whether that's through Frost, through E-Week, or through the committees that are under the portfolio as ESC and EAC. So by working with all of them, I really want to try and improve the mental health. I mentioned puppies. I honestly think that's a fantastic idea. Whether that'll actually happen is questionable because it's rather difficult to raise a puppy. But I would like to try and get that implemented because I think a lot of people would really just enjoy seeing a puppy in their daily lives, or kittens. Faria's not here, but she's mentioned to me several times that she only wants kittens. That's all. I'm done. Thank you. And this is not a statement. It's just really comfy.
Okay, thank you. Next we have.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name is Amara and I'm a 4th year student in chemical engineering. For those of you who don't know me, a little bit about my experience, directly related to the VP Internal portfolio. I've been the VP External and VP Internal of the Engineering Events Committee, as well as a Frost coordinator and currently a McW coordinator. As for other involvements that I've had, which are also relatable, I was the VP Events of my residence council in U0, as well as I'm involved in sustainability and engineering at McGill and the McGill 3D printing design team as VP External. So now I'll get onto my platform. There's 3 main parts to it. The first is community and inclusivity. I'm super passionate about promoting and growing the engineering community and making sure we continue to reach out and appeal to more students through having more diverse events, improving inclusivity at all events, working on more ways to promote larger events to more people, as well as ways to improve visibility for the smaller events and smaller committees. The next part is making sure that we continuously work to improve our events. So adapting to accommodate the growth of events like E-Week that's happening right now, also increasing collaboration between different committees within the portfolio and increasing input and feedback from the engineering community. And the last part of my portfolio is sustainability, economic, social, and environmental. In terms of economic, in order to continue to grow and improve events, we are going to have to obviously consider looking for more external sources of funding. And one of the main ways I think we need to work on doing that is making EUS events more appealing to sponsors. The second is social, which relates back to like a strong sense of community and diversity and inclusivity, but also acting as a really strong support for my committees and ensuring they have smooth transitions and a good transfer of information between years. And then the last is environmental sustainability. I am part of CEUM, and so I want to reduce our footprint if possible.
And if I can just request you guys stand right in the middle so I don't have to hold my camera. Thank you.
Are we good? All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Tristan. I'm a third-year electrical engineering student. Before I get into my platform, I just want to talk a little bit of my experience in event planning. So first year, I was president of my residence. I planned an event for roughly 175 people. On top of that, I was sitting on IRC and planning events with all the other presidents and VP externals of residences. And I was sitting on URC, as Trey mentioned previously. It's a lot of admin stuff. We also voted on the budget for student housing and hospitality services, which is roughly $50 million for the upcoming 2 years. The following year, I was project manager for Nobi, which I still currently am, and I was VP comms for EIG. I ran to be your SMU rep, and I got elected, which means that this year I sit on both SMU Council and EUS Council. On top of SMU Council, I sit on the Community Engagement and Francophone Affairs Committee. That's under SMU. Basically, we deal with the relationship between McGill and the Milton Park community, which is a pretty big thing for Frosh. Also, I was an EV coordinator, and I'm the current chief for Merritt Winter. Now I'm going to get into my platform. I have, like, the one big thing I want my platform to focus on is outreach. And so to get there, I have, like, 3 different pillars, I guess. The first one is to improve outreach to smaller faculties. I think that the smaller faculties aren't as much in the loop as bigger faculties. And to make that happen, I would bring on the chairs of ESC and EAC onto the internals meeting, because I feel that, like, I think it's a win-win situation, honestly. ESC and EAC need the support from the other faculties. I talked to the ESC co-chair. I haven't talked to Jess, but I talked to Christian. And they, like, pretty much do what they can. So if they have the internals working with them, it could, like, improve the diversity of events and improve what events are being offered to students within all the different departments. My second point is improving outreach to other faculties. Currently, ESC plans event with other faculties, most notably nursing and Mag Campus. I think that I want to plan more diverse events because they plan drinking events. So non-drinking events would be cool too. And I also want to, like, improve the diversity of, like, the number of faculties we work with. And last but not least, I want to work on the common room. I think the common room should be used outside of Blues Pub hours and, like, a little bit more than just, like, meeting space or, like, what's happening right now. And so yes, EAC could possibly throw, like, small events from time to time, and we could also use, like, the bigger events that we have, Frosh and E-Week, to just, like, regroup here. That's pretty much it. Thank you for your time.
So I have 2 questions. The first one, it's only for Jason. Hi, Jason. I've heard that you only have 1 semester remaining in your time here at McGill. Do you plan to extend that semester out to a full year?
Okay, so I'm gonna stay seated. So Malcolm doesn't need to move because I walk a lot. But essentially, I do only have 1 semester left, and I'm unsure what I'll be doing as of now. I have 2 options that I could foresee at this moment. If I lose, obviously I'll just stay with 1. But if I win, I could extend. JL actually did that this past year. Whether it's by finding a minor or just taking a bunch of electives, who knows? That's one option. Another option is if I do choose to remain only 1 semester, aka I resign at the end of the semester, it would have to be a CELCOM, I believe, for the next semester. And one way that I foresee this working out, if I do choose to go down that path, is if starting at Frosh with one of the coordinators, I kind of mentor somebody into the position and show them exactly what their day-to-day duties would have to be. So as if I were to resign, it would be a rather smooth transition into the following semester. Another thing is that a lot of what the VP internal has to do happens during the summer, during organizing Frosh, and the first semester organizing E-Week, whereas in the winter semester, a lot less has to be done. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, so the second part is why should we vote for you if we're not really sure whether you're going to be here for the 1 year or 1 semester?
Well, I think that I'm highly qualified for the position. I've been around for a long time. I've organized several events. I only mentioned E-Week, but I helped the initiative of the first Winter. We were part of the organizing committee, and it's obviously a success since it's still going on this year. I was actually part of a fraternity for like half a year. Organized some events there. They were bangers. Yeah, I'm not going to mention what that frat was because it doesn't exist anymore. But it was fantastic times. But no, honestly, I only have 1 semester left, and I understand the concern. However, I feel that I could bring in a lot to the dynamic of the team. A big part of what you have to do as an exec of the EUS is working with everybody else. And I feel like I could help all these people develop their skills together and become a more cohesive unit to produce the best amount.
Second question is for all of you. I think I'll give each one of you at most 1 minute to respond to it. I love that you all believe in creating more inclusive events, but can you all list actual tangible methods that will help you achieve that? Start with Tristan.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I definitely believe in inclusivity, and I'm pretty sure we all do here. And so one way I want to do this is use ESE and EAC that are under the VP Internals portfolio to make that happen. Currently, EAC doesn't have co-chairs, and ESC's co-chair told me that pretty much they can do what they can. So if they work with me and other departments to completely provide different events, and if you tell them, if you get involved with these committee at the beginning of the year to give them goals to plan that diverse events. I mentioned that ESC worked with other faculties and did only drinking events. I'm sure that we could use this relationship, for example, to plan a non-drinking event that happened during Frosh. Actually, the park party is a perfect example of fun, inclusive event that isn't that would cater to a lot of people.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's important to keep working on improving inclusivity in all of our events. One concrete way in which I would like to do this is making a more standardized procedure for how non-drinking event tickets are handled and advertised, / they're not really advertised currently, but I'd really like to work with that and find a better system. A second point is I would like to, again, as Tristan kind of mentioned, increase the amount that EAC collaborates with departments as well as other committees, including the bigger committees under the portfolio. For example, if Frosh and EAC co-host an event together, which would be great for EAC as well as great for improving the non-drinking environment around Frosh. Those are a couple of fun good ideas.
So the way that I foresee more inclusive events is kind of going down the Frosh path. Not exactly stopping a bunch of stuff, but it's an event with drinking rather than an event for drinking. So if we could have a Jeopardy night where drinks are served, but it's not meant as a drinking event. So anybody could come, everybody will feel welcome. And if you want to drink, you can. Other people may feel dancing events are only meant for drinking. You have sober until 10, I don't know, something along that line. But really what I want to try and do is involve everyone, make everybody feel like they're included. So, yeah.
Yes,
with VP Internal, you're often leading a lot of these committees. Would you see yourself in the committee as more of a, what type of leadership style is essentially what I'm asking per committee if you would change?
We can start with Amara now.
Okay, so yeah, I definitely think it does depend a bit depending on the committee. So with the Frosh committee as internal, I think it's important to be very present in that committee and be a really strong leader. Whereas the smaller committees that sort of are a big one-time event thing but have continuous events throughout the year, like EAC, ESC, ski trip, or sports, It would be more acting as a support and still keeping up with their meetings and everyday goings on, but not actively being involved in all of their planning. Just really acting as a support for them and keeping track and making sure that they're successful.
Next person, Lou? Yeah.
So I think I heard all of you mention that you'd like to see a little bit of.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yes. No, I think it's Sarah's question.
I want to focus on like two things. First of all, like being visible and being present for like the different committees under the VP internal, whether it's like Frosh Week or like ESC and EAC, etc. I also want to be aware of what's happening in those committees, because I think that like if there's a problem in a committee, you need to be able to step in and like pick up the situation where it's happening, and that you like if you're not aware of what's happening in your different committees, then you take too much time to like get caught up to speed, and not only that, but you look like weak in front of your committee because they're like, oh, it's the VP internal and he doesn't know what's happening. So yeah, visibility and awareness.
Yeah, so for me, the way that I like to lead is I try to be as calm as possible, essentially all the time. So from what I hear, Frosh kind of gets kind of crazy sometimes. So when shit kind of hits the fan, you kind of want to be that strong leader that's just like, don't worry, I'll handle this, whether you can or not. But essentially what I want to do is I want to oversee what is Blues Pub, where you have their own managers and you're kind of just helping out and you have the key to the beer room, which is essentially what I see the execs doing. Or sports, where they actually have all their managers and they kind of do it by themselves and you're just there as a support system. But really, you just want to be an overseeing body that deals with the main issues that need the help that they need. I hope that answers.
Yeah, sure. So now we'll go to Lou. You still have your question, or you don't?
So I have a lot of faith in all of you to lead. So I'm not going to question the other parts of what you said about yourselves, but I think you all mentioned the amount of alcohol involved in events, and I think it's a lot of talk in previous years and throughout the year of making things more inclusive for people who don't drink, but oftentimes it doesn't materialize into action, and I've actually been in those discussions for both Frosh and EWE, and it's not because people don't want to, but it's because it's difficult. It's attached to the culture, and I just kind of want to know, are you all very serious about that, or is it just the regular, because we all do make an effort when we're recording these events to make sure there's enough things for non-drinkers to do, but are you really committing to a culture change to make things less involved with drinking, or is it just keep the status quo enough for non-drinkers to feel comfortable?
Sure. To be perfectly honest, I don't want to take drinking out. So I'm not trying to say that I'm going to make it a dry event or anything. But I do want to keep moving forward. So Frosh, I have seen positive movements toward becoming a more inclusive event. I don't know if you feel the same way. But I find that with all these dry events that have been happening, it has been increasing people's responsiveness to these events. Whereas throughout the rest of the year, I think that it's actually fairly easy to try and reduce the amount of alcohol. I don't want to try and kick it out. That's not at all what I'm trying to do. But if I could try and move it more towards sober events or drier events, and yeah, I think I can actually do it. I'm not just trying to talk.
All right, I think there's two parts to your question. First of all, the big events that the EUS currently already has. And so for that, like Frosh and EWE, first of all, for Frosh, like I agree with Jason, there's no point in trying to remove Frosh and EWE, actually, there's no point in trying to remove the drinking, but we need to keep making progress. And for that, I want to work with the other faculties in SMU. We saw this year that, for example, like Crash Pads was implemented through the VP Ops, so that's really good. All age events are also pretty recent, so I want to keep moving in that direction. And then I want to use like those big events and the sphere of influence and the amount of people that they like generate towards creating other events that like have are non-drinking. For example, sports this year counted 4 points towards E-Week, and I think that's like a great incentive to get people to come out to events they generally would not want to. I agree that it's a problem because you're still targeting a crowd of people that drink, and like it's still not ideal, but making those events like happen, getting people to come will start a snowballing effect, I think, and I hope for people that don't drink?
Yeah, so I guess I agree basically with what they're saying in that I'm not trying to take drinking out, but move forward. So I think in situations like Frosh, when you're planning events, it's really about the kind of like environment that you create. Like at a clubbing night, it's kind of unrealistic to think that you can like really take the alcohol out of it or like change that aspect. But for example, with like the more chill nights that was implemented in Frosh, where they were just selling beers sort of behind the curtain, like I think things like that do a lot to change the culture and change the environment, which actually makes progress. And then as well, like seeing more collaboration between, between like different committees, such as like hosting an EAC event during Crash, which would be like completely dry. I also, like, since we can't completely take the alcohol out of any of those events, and I really see a value in having EAC and having like a completely dry committee, because there's obviously people that will never be comfortable at events where there are drunk people and nothing we can do to change that. So also working to grow EAC. Yes.
So to the subject of Frosh, how would you improve the safety of the events? This year was very okay with safety, but there were a few incidents. How do you improve the general safety of those events?
All right. So first of all, I'd work on the leader level, because Frosh leaders are like the main amount of people that are in contact with the Froshies. And so I think if like we implemented culture change there and like work on increasing their awareness on like being good active bystanders, knowing when like a Froshie had too much to drink, I think that's like key. I think working with other faculties is important, because other faculties go like plan events that are different than engineering. I know how to react to like a whole set of scenarios that maybe engineering people don't really experience. And so we've seen this year that working with SMU and other faculties can produce results. And Crashpad was extremely successful. So yeah, trying to like make that culture change happen on multiple levels is what I would do.
So like obviously we saw that this year, like all the initiatives that Frosh has been taking are really successful. For example, working with MCIT and having red flags, like making sure that you always have a really clear plan with venues about giving out water, and like that falls into red flags as well. Also in terms of general safety at events, I think that obviously all the work that we've been doing with the equity committee and equity as an idea in general around Frosh has been really helpful. And I would also like to expand on that and work with mental health and create more of a culture of like caring for yourself during events like that, which I think would also help to improve the safety of everyone.
So if I get it correctly, by safety, you mean safety? Cool. It's kind of a vague term. But yeah, no, safety pretty much, you want people to feel safe while in the drinking environment. So that involves having MCIT and Red Frog present, which they have been doing. You want them to be able to get home safe. So you have to make sure that all of the Frosties are knowledgeable about walk safe or drive safe, and they know that they could come and trust the leaders. So pretty much communication is the biggest key here. So you want the leaders to be reiterating over and over that, hey, if you're way too drunk, or hey, if you feel uncomfortable, you have all these resources. You have all these options to make you feel safe, to actually get you home safe. So I feel that knowledge is the power here. All the resources to have safety is already present.
We're going to take 2 more questions because we're running out of time. So I'll take that one.
I have like me first.
Yeah, the 2 of you, one, then the other person, then we are closing it so we can move on.
Yeah, so a lot of you have mentioned somewhat in your platform about involvement, and your big events in your portfolios are events that don't necessarily see a lot of first-year involvement, or first years are not aware of it, and where you see a lot of the same people coming back and doing those events. So what are your concrete ideas to change the outreach that happens to get more diverse people coming to your events, whether it's first years who want to get involved in those events? What are your concrete ideas to change that group?
Amara? Okay, so one of my one of my concrete ideas in terms of like reaching out to different kinds of people is tabling in different locations. Some of those kinds of events, like we always only table in the EUS mall, which like a certain subset of people enters, and so like it doesn't really expose you to anybody new. So I think like tabling in Trottier or the architecture building or WA could be helpful in terms of outreach in that way. Specifically in terms of targeting first years, I think it could be helpful to have VP internal portfolio like info session at the beginning of the year. Like honestly, it sounds like maybe silly, but it's something that's not really done and something that is really successful for like other committees and design teams. Just to really get the word out there about ways they can get involved and like what all the events are and the differences between the different committees. Also, obviously, working with the internals and the and getting them to spread the word through their UREPs. That can really help like reach out to more people as well.
Right. So I think like we've reached a point at McGill, or at least in the engineering faculty, where like promotion is starting to plateau, right? Listservs are being done, tabling is being done, you put up posters, but you don't really get that extra amount of people that you're trying to reach out to. I think we've all like more or less looked into events or like got involved in some way, but I don't know how effective this is. So to target first years, I think it's really important to educate frosh leaders because they are the ones that are going to be talking to the first years. I honestly don't think all the frosh leaders know what the EAC and ESC are. So this year we've been lucky because the ESC has great co-chairs and like their events have been hugely like successful, but like it doesn't really target first years. So if the frosh leaders know about this, and then if the internals know about this, if people know what events are happening when, we can use the frosh leaders as like a means of communication towards first years.
Yeah, so what I'm visualizing in order to get more first years involved is that you have to get them early on. You want to get them before they start like, hey, what's that? Because they get distracted easily. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to get them at Frosh, like Tristan said, but immediately after Frosh, you want to show them all these opportunities that they have, which we kind of do with whatever that tour is called. Around McGill. Info McGill, Discover McGill, that's it. Discover McGill. Yeah. But what you really want to do is you want to promote them some of the fun activities, some of the more ways that they can get involved in a fun way. So you should tell them like, hey, come to Blues Club this Friday, we'll talk about all the other opportunities that you could have. Or tell them, hey, I'm free between this time and this time. I really want to talk to you about what you can do to get involved. And then I think that we could kind of diversify and branch out from there.
Last question? Yes.
I have a question for each of you, actually, if that's okay. So only one answer. Cool.
Okay, one answer.
Yeah, one each. All right. So start with Tristan. So you've been very involved with SMU this past year as the engineering SMU rep, and you're also very connected with that community. So what is your view on the differences of opinion between SMU, the larger faculties, and the EUS, and how do you plan to deal with that as the internal?
All right. It's not an easy question because it's true that like I know a lot of these people and I know that the image the engineering community has isn't always the greatest, and that some of the events we do just don't really like people outside the engineering community don't really understand the way we think and things like that. So I think I would try to push for a more like open way of thinking about the engineering community and how we all work towards each other. I have like 4 like pillars-ish I want to use when I like approach those relationships. The first one being autonomy. I think it's really important that everyone like respects how autonomous each faculty can be. The other one is liability. During Frosh, a lot of like faculties work on like with each other, and it needs to be said that like some faculties become more liable than each other, and to have healthy relationships within faculties, you need to be aware of like who's liable for what when it comes to like joint event planning. The third one is sustainability. Sorry, it's important to have sustainable events, obviously, and I think it's important for like everyone to recognize that if like as the engineering internal I'm pushing for that, we should also like at least think about it. And last but not least is mutual respect. SMU is a politicized body. They aim to push a political agenda, whereas as the VP internal, you're like clearly not here for that for the EUS. You're here to represent the students. So you need to understand like these people if you want to like respect them, but it's like a two-way street, right? It's mutual respect.
So Amara, as VP internal, you'll have to deal with other faculties at McGill who will have very strong opinions that won't necessarily align with ours in the EUS, like I just said with Tristan. So what knowledge do you have of the dynamic between the EUS and the other faculties, and how do you deal with like, aggressive and/or strong personnel?
Okay, well, I guess basically all of the knowledge that I have of the relationship between like EUS and other faculties is just from like talking to people, so it's nothing personal. But I definitely know that EUS is known for disagreeing with other faculties and also for like, yeah, basically that they have strong opinions about things that other faculties tend to disagree on. So, like I have a lot of experience working with different types of people, so I feel that I'll be able to attack this well. Like as VP events in Res, obviously I was working with like people from different faculties all the time, as well as like as the VP external of MCVP right now, I'm working with other universities to try and set up a competition. And with SEAM, I've sat on like Vision 2020 meetings, which takes people from like all over McGill and talks about sustainability. So I'm very used to dealing with like people's conflicting interests, and like basically I'm very good at like holding my own opinion and not being swayed if like that is the view of the engineering community, but also like dealing with it through communication and like trying to understand their views as well, so that we can work together and like achieve results that will help both of us.
And lastly, Jason, you have described yourself as chill. The VP internal position does include some chill aspects, but it does require you to be someone that can be effective in sensitive situations. So how do you deal with sensitive social situations that can happen in the events? This is something you'll have to deal with a lot during prom.
So yeah, I actually have done a lot of equity training, surprisingly. I was a delegate for CDE, which is Conference on Diversity and Engineering, where for a good amount of time we talked a lot about how to make people feel comfortable around you. The head delegate's here right now. But yeah, so for sensitive situations, essentially the way that you go about it, or the way that I visualize it, that you always empathize. And if you feel like you are out of place, there are other services at McGill that are better suited. So if I do ever feel like I am out of my head, which I don't believe I will be most of the time, I will have other services to help me out. Is that answered? I hope. Mostly.
Okay, I'm going to say thank you, and you can have maybe 30 seconds only of you concluding, and now Saad is ready to. Right, so yes.
First of all, thank you everyone for like being here and paying attention to my platform. I'm just gonna briefly remind you what my platform is. 3 main points is like the big focus is outreach. So working with smaller faculties, working with smaller departments, and working on the common room to attract more people. At the end of the day, I think we're all here because we care deeply about the EUS and the engineering community. And so when you go back home, try and tell your friends to vote, whether it's your roommates, your friends' friends. What's really important is that whoever your EUS execs are going to be next year, they're here to represent you, the engineering community. So go out there and like get people to vote. It's important. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here and listening to us and asking questions. Like it's great to see so many people out and like caring. To recap my platform, basically it's based on community and inclusivity, continuously improving our events as well as sustainability, all 3 pillars of it. And yeah, if you have any follow-up questions after the debate, ask me, like talk to any of us and make an informed vote.
Yep, cool, this was fun. Thanks all for coming. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. But yeah, honestly, come ask me questions. I didn't get to mention everything that I wanted to. I don't think all of you guys, I saw a bunch of hands after. So feel free to come talk to me or message me on Facebook. I'll answer you right away, or just post on my page, but I think it's deleted tomorrow. So message me. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So we have started finally the
Sorry, I saw it.
Oh, that's
Chad's big.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here with the entire time
Hello?
okay. Can we all settle down, please?
Yeah, I'm running out of battery life, so I'll do a quick little blurb after answer a couple questions and then move on from there. Jessica, I think is left. I'm the internal. So, okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, first of all, sorry for me being in the gym. And I was like home right after work. It was like I stayed for 15, 20 minutes. I was like, oh, maybe she just read my blurb. So here I am now. I just wanted to say I'm glad everyone showed up. Good turnout from what I saw on the stream at least and Snapchats that Ian sent me. Clearly, but I am a candidate for VPCon. I already experienced this position. I have a vision for the portfolio. If you want to know more about my platform, check on Facebook event. But I'm running out of battery, so I'm just going to get straight to questions and sort of skim over the rest of that jargon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Mitch. What plans do you have over the summer since you won't be here, and how will you be managing your portfolio?
How will I be managing my portfolio over the summer? Very similarly to how I'm still chair of the conversation right now, and I'm not at school. It's putting a lot of faith into the people that run my committee, or in this case, it'll be the committees that will be under me. I've already been talking with Lou. One of the things I want to do right away if elected as VPCom is get an IT director self-ongoing, get that position filled out so they can start building their committee, moving that way into the other committees. I will be doing all the phone calls, meetings, all of that, and trying to get that ball rolling early. That will be a little more complex and it's just itself.
Okay, that's fine then.
That sound okay? Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Alright. Have you heard of the EUS Wiki, and what do you plan to do with it next year?
I have. I think it's a fantastic source of information. I want to add more information to it. I want to promote it. I want to get more contributors. On that same line, I might as well put the plug for what I want to do with 10 screens. I want to use the 10 screens a lot more as well. Start integrating video into that. So I think it's a great way to promote the wiki. As it is already in the pipeline and stuff like that, I do want to promote it more. So I want to continue to develop what you started, Malcolm.
Quick follow-up for you. Why doesn't the plumber station have a wiki page?
Yeah. We're not ready to sell out yet. No, we don't have one yet because I was busy committee was just, there's so many videos going on that, in fact, for our wiki thing, we want to have a video. So when you click the link, there'll be a video rather than all the text. But yeah, that's just a work in progress right now. And unfortunately, to be worked on in the future, just trying to get other committees to be more on the ball than I am, including my own committee. Sorry.
Now they're giving you the time, I think, so if you have a closing remark, that'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, if you have any more comments, questions, concerns, don't hesitate to ask them on my Facebook page, message me directly, call me, email me, whatever you want. I highly encourage everyone to check out all the candidates' platforms, including myself. There's a lot of great candidates, multiple for some position. So get out there, get to the poll, go Pokemon, go to the poll and vote. Get your friends to vote. We need to get a good turnout. So I encourage everyone to, get their roommates involved if they're engineers, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you.
Finally, we are going to have the presidential candidate. The same thing, 2 minutes of your response. I think you have so many questions and it sounds like a max. Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I'm running for president. Thank you all for staying till the end, too. That's really nice of you. I know a full pile of you left, and, well, they don't. Anyways, so my platform is essentially, to sum it all up in one word, it would be team, to be a team, to be a community, and generally just bring together both the exec team so that they can work well. I think that kind of is underplayed in these debates. I mean, if you are working with someone for the entire year, well, you can't just be alone. You need someone to kind of ask questions. And maybe someone else has experience where you don't, even though it's not your position, and kind of facilitating that discussion and bonding. The second team would be our greater engineering team. When I came here, you're in res and you kind of find like maybe 1 or 2 engineers, and then everyone is in arts. And when you finally, you actually get involved with engineering and you start kind of meeting the same people over and over again, it becomes more of a family, and it's kind of nice. And that, along with this theme of mental health, that in and of itself, having that support network of all these engineers that that you can always hey, I'm having a bad day, it's very helpful. And as a first year, I know a lot of people who dropped out because of the workload, and I find that if they only knew what they were missing, they may not have dropped out. When you can sympathize with everyone else, there's all these little things that make you feel better. I mean, the self-care challenge this year. One thing about self-care is having a good friend network. And ways that I want to do that is with this involvement package. Becoming involved gets you with people who have similar interests as you, and you can get much better friends than you can in res, although, they're the contrary. And doing this involvement package, it would be for the first years. I am trying to figure out ways where it can be more accessible. I know junior council puts out posters in residences. I don't think that's enough at all. I think that you actually need to be there in residences. Not everybody does frosh, and when they do frosh, it's not always engineer frosh, especially the girls. And that's kind of unfortunate. So if you were actually in these residences, it's in the first week, and it's not too much to ask to put an hour or 2 of your day into making everyone else's day that much better. So for the sake of time, I'll leave it there. And get ready for questions.
So probably there's so many questions online for you, but I'm going to ask one and let the others ask another one later. So the first one is, are you not concerned that your platform is a bit light and does not bring forward any new ideas?
I think that's fine. Reason why my platform doesn't bring to light many new ideas is because I find these platforms they don't really mean anything. Because the amount of times that someone has actually, in politics in general, the amount of times that someone has actually stuck to their platform is very low. And you need to be in the position to understand what is wrong, what are the issues, and to know ways that you can solve the issues. Therefore, I understand, to sum up that, yes, the platform is light, but that doesn't mean that there won't be change and it will be changed for the better.
So it was intentionally made light.
Correct.
Yes.
To follow up on that, I mean, I won't take it as a direct slap on the face. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. But no, it's possible to do things because I present last year. I talked about CAB, I talked about mental health, and talked about SCARF, and I think you have done a lot of progress on all 3 points. My question to you then, if you did make it intentionally right, your platform being that's what you said. What do you want to bring to the table, and also why are you running?
What do I want to bring to the table, and why am I running? Also, by the way, that wasn't like supposed to be shots towards you. You did well, okay? One of my points was keep your momentum going, actually. So what I bring to the table is my general knowledge and experience that I've worked on a lot of committees in a lot of different areas of the engineering community. And why I want to run for president is because with all that experience, I feel as though I can communicate sort of the engineering opinion, the general consensus to the faculty. That's a big thing with president because I find faculty doesn't necessarily go to the right person in the exec committee a lot of the time. They will definitely funnel to the president and then to the exec. So, you know, faculty sees the president as kind of the go-to person, and you need to be that person. And I feel as though I could be. So to answer that question, I feel as though I have the skills and knowledge to do this position well, and that's what I want to do.
What experience and strategies do you have that speak to leading a team and making sure it's cohesive and effective and like a good environment to work in?
Thank you for your question. All right, so what have I done? I'm co-president of ESC right now, and we've done some pretty good work to bring it back up from where it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago. I was previously an exec, and as that, I find a lot of people come to you for help. Just general speaking, like people would ask you, so what clubs are there? And I want to get involved. In that general statement, you know, you help them. And I was chair of bylaw policy, PBRC, Policy and Bylaw Review Committee. I chaired club council on there as well. Most of the time, leading with design teams, that was a little different because I led through the design team rep. They had their captain's meetings. Well, I know you're not supposed to put stuff from high school on your resume, but I was team captain of rugby and wrestling. I was also the leader of a volunteer organization that led volunteers throughout the city. I was a sustainability representative on junior college. I am one science team lead for rocket team. Generally speaking, I like to take on a leadership role. And my leadership style is that though I may be the leader, we're all a team and we're all equal.
Okay, yes.
What are some of the biggest issues for you in engineering, and what would you do as a position and
So you're asking, with my image as president, how would I use
How would
that?
you confront some issues? Like, for example, what JL did, he realized the mental health problem, he mixed his power and it towards it. What is there like anything else that you would do?
Similarly with mental health, I feel as though we got the momentum started with the survey. People filled it out thinking that it was going to do something, and I want to actually move that forward. So the other day I heard of an issue from one of my fellow students that they were dropping out because of mental health issues, and he said every little thing counts. So I took that personally because it's so true. Have you guys ever had that one prof say, if you guys are ever having mental health issues or ever have too much work and are feeling overwhelmed and suffocated, come see me or come tell me? Just straw poll actually. How many of you guys have ever had a prof say, during the syllabus week, say anything about mental health issues? Okay, that's a huge problem. As president, you have a lot greater connection with faculty. Though obviously, not being in the position, I don't know how strongly I can use my position for that. I feel as though that one way and all these little ways of showing that there is support for mental health issues, that would be one example, just to say,
But I was referring on other issues, like something to pursue. Each one mental health is not only in engineering, but other faculties. It's it's legal in general. I was more referring on the other issues that you have seen over the years. You can maybe.
Honestly, I'm not really one to use my image to. I don't know how I would say this, but I don't know. And I'm okay with saying that because I don't know the ways in which the president can use his position. When you're working with faculty, I mean, though you're a president, you're still a student. And you kind of, though the label is president, it more is you as a person and how you kind of cooperate with them and work with them. So honestly, using your label as a president just kind of means what committees you're on. If I wanted to, I feel like I'm rambling here, but generally speaking, you kind of need to be in there to know how you can use your position.
Yes. So, have you talked with all current members of the executive team about their current challenges and what their vision of the future of the society is? If yes, what are the top 3 concerns and improvements that came out of as the most important? If not, why?
So I haven't talked to all of them. I will be honest there. I've talked to JL extensively, and the problems are that I see, I don't know if I could name top 3 because you guys are doing really well, but definitely top 1 would be the health and the mental health of the team and not taking on too many projects. So with that, not keeping your academics okay, because we all are here for school. So, you have to be able to balance. When you want to go and take on all these projects, you are very gung-ho at the beginning, and you might have a list of things this long that you want to achieve, which is your platform. And actually achieving them, you may not realize how much time and effort that is needed to be put into those. So at the beginning of the year, kind of setting the stage, this is our exec team. You need to pick 1 or 2 goals per semester that you think are big, important goals. And they may be revolving, but you need to make sure that your health is put first.
Very, very good question. I meant about the future of society, not the exec team.
No, but in that sense, though, I think the exec team itself is kind of the future. If you set a precedence for that, then the happier your people are, the better the job will do. So if you're referencing EUS 2020, restructuring that kind of stuff, I think the restructuring that we're doing now is great. The moving student life is even even I thought like clubs and admin positions seem kind of like the leftovers of everyone else's portfolio, and I do and like how it's being restructured. Almost there. With regard to future of the society, just making it grow. I mean, there's the Board of Governors that is going to be a thing, and I still am like, even though I asked JL a lot of questions, I'm still learning about how that's going to help us and how that's going to work for us. But again, I need to kind of be in the position to know what I can do to change. And yeah, I will talk to more of the execs, especially when we're on exec retreat. That's like a big thing.
Yeah. Let me see who's not asked a question. You haven't.
So mental health and obscene is moving to student life, but equity is staying under the president's portfolio. So what are your plans for that? Do you have any ideas?
I think equity is doing great. I can't remember the number of people that were on the equity team, but I remember in my year that it was not that many, and I feel as though they're, at least in my, they're moving in the right direction, is how I would say equity is, in that they are showing themselves at every committee, and equity commissioner, whoever they may be next year, needs to know that they don't have to go to every committee, that maybe like we can have more sessions and maybe do more events to promote equity, and generally speaking, just make it known that they are a committee and they're there to, as like a resource for people that maybe don't really know, like equity commissioner, I find like definitely the equity commissioner is much easier. I think I lost myself in my words here. So are you just asking like equity in general? Like,
because you haven't talked about it, like it's your only committee, right?
Right.
But you don't talk about it on your platform, and you haven't talked about it yet. So I'm just curious.
Equity, well, that's because I didn't really want to see a big change. I think that in generally the direction that they're going and showing themselves at each committee, that's the direction I want to keep going. I didn't want to see a big change in equity. I mean, with like, if I were to talk to more people who are on like the equity committee, like see what direction they want to go, I can definitely help with initiatives that they want to undertake. I guess that's why I didn't say anything on my platform.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, as mentioned before, I'm the SMU rep for EUS, and my like question has different levels, I guess. I want your thoughts on like a couple of SMU initiatives. VP Student Life of SMU, Elaine Patterson, started to work on a process to recognize student involvement. I'm wondering if you have like any thoughts on that for the engineering faculty, because it's true that we have like a pretty hefty curriculum, and like, people are involved and still care about the EUS. I also want your thoughts on McGill's policy towards sexual assaults and survivors, notably the Deputy Provost of Student Life and Learning, before the fall semester started, more or less refused to like talk to the profs about how they should deal with students having like being survivors. And I also want to know your vision for where the engineering faculty should go with other faculties at McGill, because it's true that we're one of the like 4 biggest faculties, and I want to know if like you have any strong stance you want to advocate, or like what you want to do with this faculty behind you.
Okay, so that's
like 3 questions in one, I guess.
3 big questions. So I'll try and do my best. So the first one you said was about
Involvement.
So engineering, are you saying that there is an issue with like engineering being
No,
involved, or
I think it's just in like a way to recognize student involvement, and whether, for example, like currently if you do an active bystander workshop or something like that with Healthy McGill, it's, yeah, go for it.
Sorry, can I ask a clarifying question? Are you talking about the co-curricular record on my involvement through, that's campus life and engagement?
Cool. Yeah, okay, but like I'm wondering what's your sense on that?
I think like the co-curricular record, recognizing people's involvement, I think is really great. I mean, like JL wanted to do it like with SCARS and having like each committee have their patch. I think that's a great idea. And the way that they're doing with the co-curricular record, like more power to them. I mean, it needs to still gain momentum, and I think, you know, if I found that people really liked the idea of showing, like, hey, this is what I've been doing, then that would be something that I would pursue and try and make it more apparent, like everyone more aware of it. Since I remember hearing about it last year once, and then it kind of like I haven't really heard about it again. So, you know, that can be an initiative if people seem that if people think that that's a great idea. And then the second one, what was the second one again?
Miguel's sexual assault policy.
So the sexual assault policy is something I have not worked on at all. I haven't read it extensively, and I feel as though for me to give a good answer to that question, I would need to know more about the policy. Although I do know that there are flaws in it just from hearsay and through the grapevine, but I can't remember. Is that all? Okay.
So you mentioned a lot about first-year outreach earlier, and I'm just wondering how you're planning to do that because it's not actually it's primarily your student's life, right? Correct. So I'm just wondering how, if are you going to help implement things there if your VP student life wants to take on this challenge over there? If so,
you know,
where does that lead?
I figured someone might ask that question. So as president, I see myself as a team member that is there for my exec team when they need them. I mean, if our student life does not want to pursue that, then I know. I know it lies under their portfolio, and I am there to help. I mean, I want to get the involvement package out because it's one thing that I am passionate about. Scarves didn't lie under JL's portfolio, and he still worked for it because it's one of those things that, if you feel as though it would better the engineer's experience in the EUS, that definitely falls under the president's portfolio.
You're still laughing at my question. My question was, if your VP student life wants to take on the challenge alone,
by all means, yeah.
Like, how do you make sure you're not overstepping? You're not overriding them, and where does that leave what you currently told us about your life platform?
So I am not one to overstep my boundaries. If our student life does not want to pursue that, okay, I feel like I'm not going to answer the question again, so I'm going to make sure I use my words carefully here. If that is something that the student life does not want to do, and they don't want my help, if they do want to do it and they don't want my help, that's totally fine. I mean, I'm not one to do that. And where that leaves my platform is just the continuing, to continue my previous, like my first statement was to be in the position and to know where the issues may lie. I mean, who knows, maybe, who knows?
So one of the main aspects of your platform is inclusivity and getting people involved, right? And that's something that I love and I'm really passionate about. But I think a lot of times it's a lot of talk, and everyone says that every single year. Like, they just do it. And I think sometimes a sensitive topic to bring up is the PPO and its presence within the engineering community. It can be sensitive, and it's something that I think Miriam Hatcham really focused on in her platform and really dealt with. And I'm honestly just curious how you see the PPO's involvement within the EUS, or if you see it as a separate entity. I would just love to open the discussion so it's not a taboo topic.
For sure. Thank you. I knew that would come up as well. Miriam is one of my idols. She will definitely be one of my biggest mentors in this. Just putting that out there. But my opinion about the PPO, I think I like them. I mean, they are a separate entity. They solely do like finances, but they with EUS, but they aren't EUS. It's a separate organization, but I think that the fact that they recognize people who do a lot of events and who not necessarily do a lot of events, but like are very active members of the community and recognize them with a coat and then promote spirit within the engineering community and donate to charity and make sure that charity is still an aspect that is seen. I think that they're great. I mean, the taboo would kind of come about with the fact that maybe like it's the fact that you have to be chosen. You know, I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's one of the things where if you're chosen, it's an example of showing that you're an involved person. I mean, if and it's a recognition, it's like an award, is how I see it. It's an award, and frankly, like I'm part of the PPO, and I'm proud of it. I am proud that I was chosen with like a big group of people saw me and saw that I was an active member of the community and recognized that. And so I think that yes, they are a separate entity of the EUS, but what they do, I think, though it doesn't promote inclusivity, I mean, an award, it's an award, and everybody can't get an award. And yeah.
Core question on the PPO. How do you feel about the fact that the PPO uses the bank account in the financial system of the US, but doesn't follow any of its bylaws, blacklisting policy, and so on?
Yeah, I don't agree with that in the slightest. I don't understand why they're a part of our banking system, and I would totally be okay if they weren't. If they want to attend our events, they should follow our policies, just like any other person should. I mean, that's one thing. They are, like I said, they are completely separate from the US, and they should be like completely separate.
So would you ask them to either completely follow the bylaws and thus apply the selection committee bylaws, or leave the financial system of the US?
They should 100% follow the bylaws. I mean, with them, it might be very difficult for them as an organization to stay afloat if they didn't do their banking with the US. Even though it's not, I don't think it's a huge amount of money, and it's mostly to charity. Like, it's not a lot. I think I honestly have a lot. But for them to use our financial system and to not follow the bylaws, I don't agree with in the slightest. Like I said before.
But if we follow the selection committee bylaws, then select people get initiative.
I didn't think that. I thought you okay. I thought you were talking about the self-con for blacklisting policy. That's where my confusion was.
All the bylaws.
Yes. That's a tough question. And I guess in order to stay consistent, if they are a separate entity of the US, then they are separate from the US. And if they want to be part of it, then they have to follow all of the rules. Online.
So there was a talk about the whole scarves thing as being kind of a uniting apparel. But the way I see it is most engineering students, even most non-engineering students, kind of see the PPO jackets as being an engineering symbol. Would you be open to kind of expanding that so that more people would be able to wear something like that? Because I think that's what's already being seen as a symbol out in the sky.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't want to stop the scarves. I think that the fact that PPO has already been there is kind of the reason why it's a symbol. But we're kind of moving into the era of scarves, the scarf era. And also, you can ask anyone on the PPO, whoever wants to wear their lab jackets, that's fine. I don't know why you would, but you can definitely see that the scarves will be the next thing, and that's what's going to be our identifying piece of apparel.
Okay. Yes. To quote Jeff said, PPO is it's not super pro inclusivity. So as president next year, would you do something to change that and make it more inclusive, potentially change the nomination process work, or just in general the way that it follows the bylaws, or would you leave it as is?
I think even though I'm president, it's not up to me to change the workings within. That's the chiefs, since they are separate. And I think the way this has to go is that they should be separate from the EUS. I mean, although it's associated with engineering, they should be separate. I can't change how they do their nomination process. There's no way that I can do that.
Like, follow up, if you think that they should be separate from the EUS, do you plan to separate them from the EUS next year?
I think I want to talk to the chiefs about doing so because it doesn't make sense that they're part of us in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can only bring that to the president and the legacy you want to leave behind, because every president gets elected for a reason and wants to leave something behind. Robert was faculty relations, Merrim was inclusivity, myself is mental health and SCARF. What do you want to leave behind, and what is one thing that really close to your heart?
Community and being kind of together as engineers, and that's what I would leave behind. But I can't tell you my legacy when it hasn't started yet.
I feel like, so what would you want to actively work toward?
Community.
Oh, okay, she's not spoken.
Okay, so a lot of people go into engineering because they want to change the world, or in some way or another they have some sort of passion and something they really care about. What's something that you are passionate about and care about? Just to get past
So me as a person, I like to think of myself as kind of like I care about everyone, and there will be so much. And that's why I say like community is my thing, because like my work experience, I've been a server for about 5 years and worked at a cafe for 6. And it's always kind of been my passion to kind of help people out. And that's kind of, I got a job through that. I got connections through that. It's one of those things where I really like conversing with people, and I really enjoy taking care of people and serving them. I love going to work. And this is, being a president, you are a servant of the people. And it's just through kind of a different way.
And just to follow up, there are a lot of brilliant people in this faculty, in this room. How do you think you could represent them on like a larger scale, like, as a president, you represent them? So how do you think you represent all the brilliant ideas?
That's a very tough question because they aren't my ideas. I think maybe showcasing brilliant ideas. Since to showcase someone's brilliant idea and to showcase engineers, you would need to have some sort of platform, like maybe you bring back Engineer of the Week. I know that Robin started that the year before and it didn't really get continued. That is one thing. Showcasing the engineering opinion to the faculty is if there is some sort of contentious issue, like maybe sending out a survey, sending back a feedback form, posting on our group. But yeah, that's a tough question because, it's very diverse opinions.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, you're after her.
So you talked about community building and these kind of things. But a lot of the specific examples you've had are things that generally have a pretty small community within the US involved in them. And as a US president, you'd be responsible, presumably, for how would you feel that you would try and appeal to a wider audience within that? Because a lot of US stuff does have the same 200 people through it. And how would you try and engage the other 3,000 undergraduates that you'd be representing?
So that's a tough question since I remember there being lots of different engineering people way back in Res who just did not care, didn't look at the pipeline, didn't want anything to do with it. They just didn't care. I think in order to get people knowing what's going on and kind of bringing that community would be to be there. I know it kind of sounds silly, but having more than just office hours, maybe having like a spot. Now I'm just thinking kind of on the fly here. Maybe have like a spot where people can come and ask questions and like make us more visible, because bringing it back to that involvement thing. The reason that I want that to hopefully be a thing, if of course I don't overstep my boundaries, is because I want it to be more than this bubble of people. I want it to be more than that, because I know that people have a lot of skills that they can bring to the table, and having such a small bubble of people, within that group, people are even being stretched really thin, and that's not okay, because that is a lot to put on one person. So yeah, it would be like making yourselves kind of more apparent, not just showing a picture in the EUS mall, like maybe showing yourself, like, I don't know, sit at a table and say, hey, ask me questions, or like, hey, something.
To kind of bounce off what you said, there's a lot of really cool things happening in the engineering department, and I think something that a lot of people feel is that engineering undergraduate society doesn't necessarily represent, or only represents the social aspects. A lot of social things going on. And I say this as a design team rep because that's kind of my role, but I also mean that, like, personally I feel that way. And I think that I know a lot of design teams don't feel like they get the recognition they should. I think they also represent over 400 kids in the US. So I think it's important to ask the question, like, how would you represent or support design teams? And do you have any ideas? Have you thought about it? I know you've like worked with them a little bit in the past, so that's why I'm comfortable asking you this question.
Yeah. So design teams, like I worked a lot with design teams 2 years ago, and then I'm on one now, so it's like the other side. They're amazing. Like, if you have ever talked to anyone on design teams, they're amazing. And I agree with the fact that EUS does represent like a very social subset of people. And I think that somehow showcasing the design teams and like what they've been doing will be a great way to show them to the rest of the engineering students. But I know if it's still the same, the president sits on the workshop safety committee and sits on the ad hoc committee on design teams, and that ad hoc committee is especially an important one because that's where all of the advisors sit with, like Fabrice Lebeau, and that is where the concerns of the design teams are really heard. Really heard is like a relative term with the faculty, but honestly, I think design teams, like, they represent they are so important to our faculty, and I really want to figure out more ways in which we can showcase that, since especially at the end of the year when you guys like are all kind of finished your stuff and almost finished. I mean, a lot of things go on in the summer, but just showcasing like, hey, this is a cool thing we're doing, like, come check us out, or in the pipeline, or maybe even in the newsletter. Hopefully we can continue that newsletter. Okay, good.
So I feel that starting early is crucial to staying involved during the long run. I don't believe they specifically target the first years, but what steps would you take active steps would you take to get first years more involved?
Active steps that I would take, as I mentioned earlier, it would be more near the beginning of the year. And even though they are being bombarded by information and emails, it's kind of tough to sift through. So that's why I actually want to physically stand in the residences and say, hey, like, take a look, like, use a QR code to scan for the involvement package of engineers, because it's very important to get involved early. And I know that some people, like, they wait till kind of halfway through second year, maybe even third year to get involved, which is really unfortunate because they use the first year just kind of, they're getting their bearings. They don't really know, like, there's so much going on. It's a smack in the face from high school when they coasted through. And then first semester of second year, that's when they kind of know what's going on, get to know their society. And then they realize, okay, I kind of got the hang of this. And then that's when they start getting involved. So what this involvement package would do is since I would hope that it would be released every year, and I just want to make it known that it's going to be released every year. And even though they might not know, like might not look in it at all, maybe that they will understand that it's a thing that's happening or a thing that they can look through. And it, like getting started early, I mean, that's up to the person, but making the information out there and known, that's up to us.
Can I add on that question? You talk a lot about students that come from other out of province, so that's but that's only 25% of the new students. 75% of the new students come from from the province of Quebec. How do you target those students that go to U1 directly, not U0, and that junior council does not touch?
See, that's a problem that I have been thinking about for about 2 years now, and I still have yet to think of a good response to it. Reason being, even when we were in junior council, I remember there were so many people that complained about that. Like, hey, I missed out on junior council because I was U1, or just barely, like, I saw the junior council thing and then it was too late to apply, all these things. And I think in that sense, it would probably be using URES. And that's really the only kind of way that we can target those people. I mean, if they don't read the pipeline, if they don't read the newsletter, if they don't read all these emails, there's only really one other way to do it. Like, you can have them added to the EUS Facebook group, add to the McGill entering class Facebook group, but those get spammed during the beginning of the year. Like, it's a tough question to ask, and the best answer I can come up with right now is probably URES.
The last person. Well, someone else first. Okay.
Yes, but we're going to wrap up, so we'll just have the 2 questions and then we're done. Yeah.
So, so to be honest, there's a lot of times I personally feel like someone will ask a question and you're not really sure about the answer, and I completely respect not pretending like you know something when you don't. I think that's very admirable, but I think sometimes it might come across as a bit unprepared. And so how do you assure me as a voter that you're really prepared for this position and that you can really take on this strenuous, difficult role that it is?
I think I can assure you because I was an exec before, and it's kind of crazy that I'm doing it again. I understand, like, when I did it, I was not prepared. It's hard, I'm not very good at communicating how I know that I would be a good fit for this, but I can assure you I would be a good fit for this. Yeah, that's as far as I can go. I mean, I'm not very good at answering questions on the spot. It kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think about the general size of the EUS as it is right now? I mean, you've talked about being stretched thin and everything like that. I mean, more projects were definitely added on this year. Not that many were really taken away. I mean, do you think it should be downsized? Do you think that we should start being more conservative about the efforts that we're trying to put out there? Because you've named only more things that you want to add to the portfolio, and I feel like that might be adding to that problem so far. What do you think about that?
So that's something that, like, I'm a very visual person, and so if I, like, I'm imagining in my head right now the vast expanse of, like, tasks and people that take on these tasks, and like I said, there's a small portion of people. You kind of need to assess each portfolio and see, like, where can this be, like, streamlined, and where can, like, things be moved around so that it's more fair for, like, particularly execs, the way you guys are moving around, or hopefully if the referendum, yes, but the way you guys are moving around positions or tasks right now within the exec, I think that's a great step in the right direction to kind of even up tasks. With regards to, like, adding all these directorship positions, I think it's a great plan, and I say that because it can involve more people because it's like a finer, like a smaller subset of skills that are necessary for the directorship positions. And with that, someone who is, like, particularly interested in just that aspect of this whole big thing that we do, that can give something to them. So adding positions is great, but you need to figure out, you know, a balance of adding versus kind of.
direct follow-up. There was a position of community involvement director that was added on this year that someone stepped up for and then stepped down for. There wasn't enough interest in that position, dissolved. Same thing with alumni liaisons, trying to get people to try and reach out to alumni and get them involved. That also failed. So what does that say about the fact that we're creating these positions but people aren't necessarily interested in filling them right now?
Sometimes with that, like when the trial and error, I mean, clearly you see like it's one of those, if it's one of those jobs where it kind of seems like something that is really not that attractive, like unless someone is really passionate about alumni relations, obviously like you haven't found the right person yet. And I think bringing it back to the involvement of the greater community, like we need to broaden that. Like I think the fact that those positions were made and not filled just kind of stems back to the fact that we didn't reach far enough to find the right person. But I do agree that directorships like definitely take weight off of people, and that's a great thing. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying this late. And those really questions were wonderful. And please feel free to message me if you have more questions or if I didn't answer yours clearly enough, because it's much easier for me to type them.
Moving the furniture back to the one that you were sitting on. That would be awesome. No, it's about paid positions in EUS, and honestly, there's no right answer, but